Hi, everybody, and welcome to round 7 of the Cambridge International Tournament. Things are hotting up, and I'm joined by John Emms. Hello, John. How are you?
Hi, Natasha. Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you very much. Looking forward to watching a little bit of chess. I think
Yeah.
it should be an
Okay.
exciting
Let's
round,
start.
actually.
Yes. Let's start with a quick view from the playing hall. Just seeing how. Oh, no, I have to go and make it full screen over there, don't I? When I make it full screen, there you go. And you can see the top boards are actually in the far corner over there, and so you can see. I think you can't quite see it, but there's Jonah over there on board 1 and Mickey on board 2, and everybody's. They must be about half an hour into play already, and we're going to show you moves with a 15-minute delay. And let's get those on the stream now. So here we go. So you'll see board 1, Jonah Willow against Sergei Tivyakov. Should we start with that one, John?
Yeah, sure. Let's go for it.
Let's have a look at that one. Oh, wait. Well, I haven't streamed since yesterday, so I'd forgotten how to do it all. But now, yes, I've got it. We're in the game now. Let's start from the start. So, French defense. Takes. And knight d7.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to this game, actually, because Jonah Willow's quite an attacking player. He had a crushing win yesterday, didn't he? A really nice win. And I think he's also quite good at openings. I think he has his own sort of systems. But he's playing against obviously Sergei Tivyakov, who's very solid grandmaster, very, very good player. So it'll be interesting to see how this battle goes.
That might be hard, mightn't it, for an attacking player to come up against someone who can be so solid.
I mean, for a long time, Tivyakov used to play the Dragon, for example, in his younger days. But then when he got older, he changed and he used to play more solid systems. Like for a long time, he played the Scandinavian defense. He kind of played
Queen d6.
Queen d6, and like everyone used to think that was rubbish, but somehow he made it. He made it really solid and hard to break down. I haven't seen what he's done recently, and but of course, the Rubinstein French is a pretty solid opening. It's kind of an opening that I think Black kind of accepts a small disadvantage, but it's actually quite difficult to sort of prepare against as such. You can't really prepare any surprises. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, okay. So knight f3, knight f6, takes, d3, bishop e7, bishop d3, and b6 from Tivyakov.
Yeah. I think this b6 move obviously is a move that Black wants to play. But notice he's played it now. I mean, if you play a bit earlier, then White would probably play bishop b5 check, which could be a little bit awkward because. But by playing, obviously White could still play bishop b5 check, but it'd be the second time.
But he's already moved his bishop once.
Black would go bishop back to bishop d7, and then it'll look at what does White do. So I suspect that. I don't know. I thought maybe Jonah Willow he's actually thinking now. He might be thinking the big decision for White is whether to go for casting queen side or casting king side. That's the big decision White has to make in a situation like this. So he might be thinking either just castle king side here or go queen e2. Move like queen e2 isn't committing to anything. I mean, you can still castle king side. But,
so you might try and get these pieces out and not
exactly. Yeah. So and Black basically. Black will go bishop b7, and then he wants to play the move c5, of course, to kind of attack White's centre, but it's quite risky for Black to do that before casting, because then the bishop b5 check might come in again. So, he's having I think actually maybe b6 is a slightly unusual move. I think maybe Black castles normally first. So maybe that's why Jonah's not immediately responding. It looks
probably like Tivy, he mixes it up a bit, and
I think this is what this is. Okay, he hasn't. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that is a definite way to try to exploit this early b6. But Tiviakov's ready for it, clearly. He's bashed out bishop b7.
Straight away.
Yeah.
No, but could Jonah consider giving up this g2 pawn and just kind of
Could
ignore?
do, but clearly the move bishop b5 that's the move. Yeah. Or indeed,
so maybe, yeah. I've just played that. That's not him.
Yeah. Or indeed, queen a4 check as well is another possibility, which the early c3 allows. But bishop b5 is the move that obviously White should consider in this position.
What happens then?
Well, I guess the question is, I'm thinking, I don't think c6 is working at all. Sometimes it does, but I don't think it does here. Well, does it? I mean,
what, like c6 and queen d5 or something?
Yes, or c6 and queen d7. I suspect it doesn't work. Or my thoughts were something like, queen d7, knight a7. That's game over. So this is simply not working. Queen d5, is that a possibility? I mean,
yeah,
queen d5.
Yeah, White hasn't castle, so it's not mate, is it? So that's
no. But the point is, obviously, Black's threatening bishop takes knight and queen takes bishop, so White has to do something about that.
Yeah.
Knight takes a7, king f8, and then the game goes on. I don't think that's a good idea for White. The knight is just lost, basically, isn't it? So, yeah, that's a.
Okay, so maybe it is possible.
C6, is that possible? I don't know. If that isn't possible, the other thing I was thinking about c6, obviously bishop takes c6 is obviously possible as well for White.
Oh, instead of knight takes just here.
I think Black's idea then is to swap bishops and go queen d5.
Yeah.
And if knight e7, then queen takes g2.
Yeah, just do it now. The rook has to move, and then
and that's probably fine for it. It might just be good for Black, actually. So I don't. Yeah.
Hi, pawn. Hi, Matt Carr. Yeah.
If otherwise Black just has to, after bishop b5, the other option for Black is just play king f8 and say, well, you've moved the bishop quite a few times.
Yeah,
you can't
I can imagine that happening.
I mean, it's not too. I mean, it's the sort of thing that Black often sometimes does. And there's, for example, I remember there's a Caro-Kann variation that John Spielman used to play all the time, the knight d7 Caro-Kann, where sometimes you just have to play king f8 to defend your g pawn, and it's kind of Black can kind of tolerate that because the rest of Black's position is perfectly fine. I mean,
for example, you go like bishop g5 or something.
Yeah, I mean, but queen d5's a definite possibility for Black in this position still. So White has to deal with that. For example, if White castles, then queen d5 is game over, isn't it? Or White could actually defend with queen f3 against queen d5.
Oh,
yeah, but Black can probably exchange queens and have to be perfectly okay.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter so much now.
The king's it doesn't really matter about the king being on f8 now, particularly. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see if he actually plays bishop b5 check.
Yeah.
Ooh. But I mean, to be honest with you, if he doesn't play, it feels like the natural continuation after knight e5. Because if White just castles now and Black castles, it feels like knight e5, or not. Although it's not bad.
Yeah, why were you doing it?
It feels a little bit premature, basically, to give Black all these options going queen d5 or c5 seems like a stronger move now, doesn't it? Whereas if White could have...
Yeah, I think he's going to do it. Jonah will. He'll play...
I think he's... Well, the problem he has, though, is that Tivi just bashed out bishop b7. As if he knows it.
Yeah. So he knows he's up against prep.
Yeah, so it's a psychological thing, though. He basically prepared knight e5 thinking there could be problems for Black because of bishop b5, trying to exploit b6. But then when your opponent plays bishop b7 so quickly, you then fear that there's some sort of preparation.
I'm sure he's prepped. Yeah.
I think Tiffy's definitely prepped. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Right. Shall we switch?
Yeah.
Let's look at Mickey against Francesco Sonis. And I saw this is a Roy Lopez we're going to see. Bishop b5, a6. We've got knight f6. Castles. And bishop b7. Gawaine's line's the d6, isn't it? The one with the course everybody's got, the chessable course.
Yeah, I haven't got that course, but d6. That's some.
But it's really trendy now.
Yeah, okay. I have to bear that in mind. It's kind of like a slightly different form of the Steinitz deferred, isn't it? d6. Steinitz with a knight f6. Yeah, it looks like an interesting move.
Bishop b7 was played by Francesco. d3, b5.
Yeah, it's noticeable that so many players these days for white are actually playing d3 very early, not even giving the pretense of going rook e1, c3, and d4, basically.
Okay, and what's the idea?
On move 6, yeah, of course, the idea is eventually to play d4, just like you would do in the modern Italian, for example, or certainly c3 and d4 is one of the plans for white. But the point is that previously players were playing rook e1 before playing d3. But because the marshal is so good and everyone basically doesn't allow the marshal and play some anti-marshal,
right.
They play d3 at some stage there. That the thinking is these days, well, I might as well just play d3 on move 6 or move 5 or move 6 and avoid some other lines like the knight takes e4 lines, for example. Yeah, that's what modern players are doing these days.
And Mickey's no exception.
Yep.
And rook e1. Castles and knight bd2.
Yep. So we've just got a typical Lopez position.
So Mickey's going to bring this knight round, what, to f1?
I think so, yeah. And it depends on whether to g3 or e3, and it'll kind of depends on what white does with the c pawn, whether white plays c3 at some stage. And black can maybe go for counterplay with b4 if white does do that. That's a reason for putting the rook on b8.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because after a4 on move 8, black could have just moved the bishop, for example, bishop d7 or bishop g4, or indeed even bishop b7. But there's the argument of going rook b8 is that you're keeping flexibility with the bishop, and the rook's quite well placed on b8 anyway. But yeah, nothing much happening in this game. It looks like it could be a slow maneuvering sort of.
Oh, yes, we'll come back.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see then. Martin Halbro against Shreyas Royal. And we have a Sicilian.
Okay.
Normal stuff so far. 55, d2, castle long. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to get quite an attacking game here? Into a black puts the king. B5. Shreyas.
B5. Yeah, this is all kind of fairly normal. It's a Sicilian Richterhauser. And white basically has a big decision about whether they sort of play f4 lines or f3. And so, so white's played f3 here. And the idea is to play like an English attack with this g4. It's usually the English attack, the bishop's on e3, isn't it? And then you sort of go g4 and h4. Here the bishop's on g5. But the bishop might retreat to e3 at some stage anyway. Of course, there are some nuisance value of it being on g5 as well. Meanwhile, black's obviously going for some queenside counterplay.
It's going to be a race, except that Shreyas plays h5 here.
Yeah, that's an interesting move. Yeah, just basically counterattacking. I guess the point being is that if black just castles, I mean, black's got to do something about the king at some stage. And if black just castles, white might just play bishop back to e3. There's also the concern. I'm not quite sure about it, but there's also the possibility of white taking on f6 as well. So if we just look at bishop e3 first, sorry, I'm jumping ahead a little bit there. But clearly now, with that bishop on d7, the knight doesn't have its natural retreat square when white.
Yeah, okay. Doesn't have any. Oh, you can go that way, maybe.
Yeah, it's not ideal, and h5 is not. I mean, h5 is sometimes okay, but if you go to h5, then white will often play, for example, knight from c3 to e2 to g3 to challenge the knight and give black a difficult decision to make. So you don't want to take the knight and open up the h file.
Oh yeah, look at this.
Yeah, sometimes knight h5's fine for black if white's already gone h4, so the knight e2 to g3 plan no longer exists.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so yeah, if white plays h4, then
yeah, if white has
not
already
so
played
worried.
exactly, if white's already played h4, then knight h5, albeit still quite risky. I mean, black has got more resources there because the knight can go to g3 or maybe can go e5 and go knight f4. Yeah, so this is the sort of thing that white would do, and then it all depends on whether black can get the counterplay going. But obviously, this plan of g5, then h4, then h5 is quite worrying.
This counterplay, black's counterplay, would consist of
black could go b4 and then a5, a4, b3, for example. Just get the queen side going.
Yeah.
And the other option for white general option white has to think about, or both sides really have to think about, is whether white can actually take on f6 with the bishop.
Oh, while it's still here, yeah.
Yeah, and then black has to decide whether to take with the g pawn or just to give up the d pawn with bishop takes f6, for example.
The bishop takes, you can take here.
And then queen takes queen, probably. Or possibly queen a5. Oh, no, you got to exchange queens, haven't you? Now, the reason why this might be, if black hasn't castled, then black could... I mean, clearly black's got some compensation with the two bishops here.
Yeah.
Especially that dark squared bishop's a beautiful bishop, isn't it? But if black hasn't castled, black could go king e7, attacking the rook, and then all his pieces are nicely coordinated. So if you go back a move to the position after b5 on when Shreyas played b5, if takes on f6 now, black take with the bishop, queen takes, and then probably got to swap queens, and then king e7, and the rooks connect. The king's in the perfect position. And black can just get counterplay with b4, or, and this is nice. This is I think black's got full compensation with the pawn here. But when he's castled, it might not be so easy because your king's stuck away on g8, isn't it?
Yeah.
So anyway,
and then that rook looks quite good if the king's all the way out.
You have to spend the move. You have to spend the move defending your bishop, and then maybe white can get organised more easily. So h5. I mean, h5 stops all of that.
Yeah, and we're getting a different kind of game. So it takes, and then Shreyas takes back with the knight. So and now these bishops are kind of offering a trade of those bishops.
So Shreyas is kind of accepting that his king's not going to be completely safe, but he has got some. He has got some strategic advantages, like he's managed to break up white's pawn structure on the king side quite nicely. And the rook on h8 could be a useful piece. The knight could maybe go to f4. Yeah.
He's playing very actively, isn't he?
Yeah, this is very
but it's less like topping each of these kings, is it? It's more sort of piece play. Well, what white did was defend this bishop here.
Yeah, that looks like a good move.
Yeah, and if the bishop trade happens, now white will manage to...
White could take with the pawn, perhaps, yeah.
h5, get the pawns back.
Yeah, and also
not isolated.
Also, that pin is slightly annoying then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the knight could retreat to f6 here, but the bishop on g5 then is quite well placed, isn't it? It's defended, and it's slight annoyance value. You can no longer attack it with h6.
Yeah, and also, right, if you do this stuff, then black now, if kind of castling either way seems a bit dangerous, because if you do go short, then now this h pawn's got can just get very far advanced very quickly.
Yeah, I think probably what black has to do now is actually keep the king in the center.
Yeah.
I mean, if we just there's been a couple more moves played. Shreyas has not castled.
Rook c8. Shreyas played, so he's definitely not going to go queenside. He can't anymore.
Bishop d3.
And then he plays g6.
Yeah.
Okay, is he going to put the knight back that way? Maybe.
I'm not sure he's going to move the knight, but I think just protecting it is useful. And also, I mean, on a good day, black can maybe. I mean, black may be able to, for example, go king f8 to g7. after an exchange of bishop.
Yeah.
I think it just gives it's a
Yeah.
a bit more solid. I mean, white could try and sort of go f4, f5 to really blast it open. I mean, that's a possibility. But I can understand why Shreyas went g6. So it's a question now. White's got to try and do something now, I guess, to progress on the king side.
Yeah, because obviously then, because Shreyas does still have this
he still can
plan of
start pushing those
and
pawns.
his
Exactly, yeah. I mean, white can consider moves like just swapping bishops and then going queen g5 check. It might, not sure if actually how much it achieves, but certainly that's a possibility. I guess with the bishop on d3, that does block the d file now, so it may be temporarily, at least, it sort of lessens white's possible tactics. But it might just be that white is just... sorry, who's Shreyas playing what? Sorry, I can't...
Shreyas is playing I am Martin Halbro.
Halbro, okay, so maybe that Halbro's sort of playing the long game here, and he's slammed bishop d3, and he wants to maybe maneuver the knight from c3 to somewhere where the knight's got more influence on the game, for example.
Right.
So after instead of actually taking on e7, he might in his position he might make a move like knight e2. And then maybe knight d4, and he might just go f. He might try for this f4, f5 plan as well.
He might, mightn't he?
I mean, knight d2 is knight e2 is a sort of prophylactic move against the move b4, because I mean, I'm not even sure where if black goes b4 now, he has to be even sort of consider white even possibly taking that pawn with the queen
on a6.
Oh, I hadn't even seen that, but I was thinking about queen takes b4 actually. But actually, both. Yeah, I mean, clearly, there's always a bit of a risk taking one of these pawns, but
because the king gets it open, but then you do have the pawns. So.
You do have the pawns, and also because black hasn't got his rooks connected, it's not going to be so easy for black to attack. But I mean, maybe against knight e2, black could just play a5 first.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then b4.
And you don't have either of the pawns on praise.
Yeah. Okay. So so white's having a bit of a think.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Should we move on? Yeah.
You want to see Ian Gourlay against Amit Ghazi?
Yeah, let's go for that. Okay.
Here we go. So, knight f3, knight f6. Symmetrical so far.
Yeah.
d4 and now d6.
Okay.
3 c5. And that's interesting. So Amit, he's already played d6 and he now plays d5. I guess he's slowing down. White might play otherwise c4 or e4, I suspect.
Yeah, I suspect this is. I think this is theory. I don't know this line very well, but I've seen this idea before where black plays d6 and then plays d5. If you think about it, it's like white in effect is playing like a Grunfeld.
Yeah.
And
Postpon's just commented that Ghazi's favourite is the King's Indian. I've seen him playing the King's Indian attack all the time as well for white.
Yeah. He likes playing for both colours.
Yeah, so it's not surprising he played that kind of setup. But now this kind of changes the...
It does change.
It changes a bit. It's not so King's Indian-y.
No, white in effect who's played like a Grunfeld, and black's played like a G3 against the or Fianchetto against Grunfeld. The point is, obviously, in this position, is that when black plays E5, there's no sort of knight to take on C6 that white likes to have in the Grunfeld. So that's the advantage that black has. So that's why Amit's played a move. He's actually spent an extra move on D5, knowing that when he goes E5, the knight can't just take another knight. Yeah. And
so it's like being a tempo down, but it helps because you haven't put your knight there.
Exactly. Yeah. And also another thing that in the Grunfeld, often against the knight, often uses the square B6, which for white here is B3. And that no longer exists either. So basically,
go there and it can't go there.
No.
So it's going to have to go back again.
Exactly. Whoops. So black's idea is probably to go, well, we see in the game, black's going to go E5, and then the knight's going to go back to F3.
Yeah. So C4, E5, and it has to drop back to F3.
Yeah, and then E4.
Oh, and then he keeps on going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going with the pawns in the centre.
Yeah, and then the knight comes back to D4. But I mean, obviously, white can kind of be happy with all this because the whole point is that often you want to lure these pawns forward. with the idea that they'll then become
because
vulnerable.
actually this one, I mean, white can exchange this one at some point, and then maybe this one's weak. Okay. I think we've lost John for a moment, so I'm just going to try and get him back. Ah, here we go. He is back. Hi, John.
Hi. I'm not sure what happened there. I didn't feel. I didn't actually. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So yeah, this is where they're at. So white's put the knight in on d4.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So I mean, he's actually used up quite a bit of time already, hasn't he? They start with 1 hour and 30,
true,
don't they?
Actually, yeah.
So he's used up 25 minutes plus his increment.
Yeah.
So maybe this isn't quite theory then. So I guess, I mean, Black has to make a decision here, I guess. I mean, one thing he could do is just take on c4 and then try and support the e4 pawn. Yeah.
It's like that, and rook e8 or something.
Rook e8 or queen e8. Yeah, probably rook e8, not queen e7, because then bishop a3. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's an interesting position. So some sort of knight b5 ideas for white, perhaps.
Yeah. That's a bit off the normal, that this the center's opened up more than usual. Okay, so that's where they're at.
Okay.
Let's see Gasanov against Declan Shaffi.
Oh, this was an amazing opening, actually. If we just go to
let's see it.
Yeah. I probably have seen it, but I've forgotten about it. It's like a really nice, really interesting idea for Black in the Grunfeld.
Okay.
Or rather, so F3 is kind of like an anti-Grunfeld, just like we were talking about, of course. Now, if D5 now, pawn takes, knight takes, the knight has got no knight to take, so white will go E4, basically. And
right,
of course, this is a line, the knight goes to B6, but and then white plays bishop E3, I think, and the game bishop G7. The game goes on, basically. Yeah, I mean, but Black doesn't have quite this. He doesn't have that typical knight takes C3. So F3 is like an anti-Grunfeld, and of course Black can transpose the King's Indian, but there are one or two other sort of interesting ideas. One of which Declan Shaffi played here, which is this move on move 3, this move knight H5.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting that. Knight H5.
Well, I think I have seen it previously, but even, like a while ago, and it all just shocks you every time you see it. Yeah, even if you know it's a move.
Because it's not even. It's not only not attacked, but it's not even. There's not even a pawn close to attacking.
So I guess white could go G4 here. I guess, is that right?
Yeah, I mean on F6 it wasn't.
We're not going to get false mated, are we, if we go G4?
G4. What do? E5.
No, I don't think Black. Well, I mean, I don't know the theory. Maybe Black does go, but I mean, I suppose Black could, for example, just go. I don't actually know what Black does. I mean, to be honest with you. So
knight G7 maybe.
Maybe. So what about knight F6?
And H5, like Chris.
What about knight back to F6? And then white goes E4. Black's lost a lot of time here, actually, isn't? Yeah.
There's a lot of pawns in the center, that's for sure.
There's always a risk of being a bit of a fool trying to look at these lines which you don't know anything about, because it might well be that Black's got something,
I won't make you.
Yeah. I do know that bishop E3 is the normal move. White did go. What did white play? E4 first, yeah?
Yeah.
And then E5.
E4.
This is the point. Yeah, E5.
E5.
And now Black is genuinely threatening Queen H4 check.
Yeah, this is a big threat, isn't it? Because G3 you can't, obviously, because of knight.
Yeah. So bishop E3 for white. And I do know that's the move. So I just don't. I mean, that G4 move we had earlier. That looked interesting, but have to look that up later. But bishop E3.
Yeah. Crowd hasn't seen knight H5 either.
Mm.
No. Wow, interesting. Well, that must have come as a shock. Although
not
Gasanov
necessarily,
used
not, not,
hardly any
no,
time,
not
right?
necessarily to Gasanov. No, it would have just come to shock to maybe people watching it. Yeah,
The
because
crowd,
if you
yes.
play F3 against the Grunfeld on move 3, I think
Right, yeah.
well,
You're going to know what that
let's say for example, if you play it regularly, then if that's like part of your repertoire, then you do need to know about these funny lines that black can play. So okay, yeah, bishop b4 check. Okay, knight c3.
Knight c3 and castles. Okay.
Right, interesting. So black, I guess
you would prefer your bishop. You prefer your bishop here, though, wouldn't you? Or am I just?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, at least with bishop b4 check, you are getting your pieces out quickly with tempo, I guess.
Yes.
I'm starting to think it's a little bit like a Nimzo Indian, where black's got the pawn. You know, I'm sort of thinking if black can go d6 and then go bishop takes c3. You know, you can imagine sort of like Nimzo style and then going for f5. I did wonder whether black could go d6 last move, but I think it loses instead of castling. But it's worth showing this.
Yeah, d6.
Yeah, just so he doesn't give up the pawn. I think white can go queen a4 check here and win material.
Queen a4 check, because if you go knight c6, then d5
pins the knight, pins and wins the knight, basically.
Yeah, okay, that looks.
Yeah, and black doesn't have any
counterplay. Done.
No, so that's why castles happened. But that does give white, of course, the chance to take the pawn, which Gasanov indeed did.
So castles and then takes.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't take, then black will probably play d6 or even knight c6.
Yeah.
So knight c6. So it's a bit like a Budapest now, isn't it?
I suppose, yeah.
White, so in fact, Gasanov's just let white take the pawn back, and then I think his argument's going to be, I've got quite a nice structure with the pawns on c4 and e4, and I'm just going to play the position. Did he go queen d2 there? Was it queen d2? He did play queen d2.
Queen d2's played.
Yeah.
And then I assume black's going to take back, but that hasn't been played yet.
Okay. And if
he does, not.
No, he might not, of course. No, I'm just thinking what else he could do.
Yeah. Rook e8 maybe to just get off the line. But then...
Oh, rook with the idea
you did do that.
Yeah, I think that's quite nice. The idea might be that if white goes a3, then you can actually go bishop back to f8 and get it on its proper diagonal.
Nice.
Yeah? So perhaps he's thinking about that, because after knight takes e5 instead, maybe white could play the move a3 now.
Oh, and then this bishop can't drop back
before he does anything else. So it might just be a matter of timing.
Yeah.
Because black could obviously go bishop takes c3 here. And say, well, I'm ahead on development, but the problem is the dark squares are not looking great, are they? Queen takes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And then something like d6 and a quick f5, basically, yeah. Black what black will be doing is trying to camouflage the fact that they've done, strategical damage to their position. But they are ahead on development, so if black could get maybe counterplay with f5 before white doing anything, but it looks a little bit. It just looks risky, doesn't it?
It does. We'll see. To me, it does. And then this,
But why's the thing about it?
Because you could bring this knight out here, couldn't you? And
knight h3, black could definitely consider going bishop takes h3 and then queen h4 check.
Take it off.
Yeah. I think black would be.
I feel like because if you take back, then you've got this one. Yeah.
Even better. Yeah. So I think maybe white will go knight e2 instead.
Yeah, a bit more sensible.
Yeah. So white does have to actually get some pieces out. That's true. But if white consolidates, you think white's probably just got a strategically winning position. So maybe rook e8 is an interesting idea here, with the idea that after a3, bishop f8.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So the interesting play.
I mean, white could try f4. Okay. White could try f4 then, I guess, couldn't he? Yeah. Try and hold on to the pawn.
So now, Matthew Turner against Stephen Dishman.
This game's gone quite a long way in already, hasn't it?
So there was a group of us. We all had a Chinese meal last night, and both Matthew Turner and Steve Dishman were there. So and the draw came out during the meal, so they realised they were playing each other, and they said they last played each other about 30 years ago. They had it was a league. There was Nottingham League, and Steve Dishman was at Nottingham Uni. And Matthew Turner was playing for the local kind of town, I think. And
because he lived there, I think. Yeah, is that right?
He lived fairly near there, yeah. And so they played at the league.
Isn't it amazing now? Sort of chess players. That's what they can do. They can remember games from.
That is actually amazing. Yeah, can you remember all your league matches?
I can't remember them all, but sometimes you can kind of, if you have one player that is like a similar level to you, for example, and you've played him not many times, often you can sort of remember those times, yeah? Especially they haven't played for 30 years, so, you know. Okay.
Maybe they both went away and looked up what they played 30 years ago.
Yes.
So right. This is, an early bishop g4 from
this is just Reti with bishop g4.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, queen b3 is a typical move, and then after queen b6.
He's looking to take there, but queen b6.
White often plays this move bishop e3, which basically encourages an exchange on b3.
Okay, and it happened. So queens are off.
Yeah. And then h3, and black has to make a decision. And I think, I mean, if you go bishop h4, bishop h5, then white could often maybe go g4 and knight h4 anyway. So, to be honest with you, taking on f3 makes a lot of sense here, because I think that bishop is often the problem piece for black anyway. So, I mean, if you look at white's structure with the pawns on c4, d3, and e2, they kind of blunt that bishop wherever it goes anyhow. So,
right, so he doesn't mind so much.
So exchanging it off and then just being very solid. I mean, it's quite difficult for white to take advantage of his bishop pair. Although of course we'll see what happens.
Also, knight c3, a5.
That's an interesting move. I kind of normally I just kind of think that black would go a6 there and be more solid, but I suppose the point is that that's interesting, a5, because I guess if white takes on d5, black is not going to take back with the c pawn now. Black's going to take back with the e pawn. Maybe that's always the idea. Yeah, and of course if and then those b pawns look silly, don't they? So white, that's okay.
Yeah.
So what did white do?
Knight a4, bishop b4.
Okay, that's an argument for a5. The bishop's sort of on that post now on b4. Yeah.
Yeah. And rook c2 is the last move we have.
Okay, so not much going on at the moment. Both sides slowly improving their position.
Fine.
I suspect the blacks. Next thing maybe black will just move his king up to maybe to e7. I don't think black is very solid here, but it's not. I think black sometimes just has to sit and wait, because if black starts moving pawns in the center, the bishops become stronger. Yeah. At the moment, that sort of triangle of pawns, or the arrow of pawns rather, they do a good job of blunting that bishop on f3, don't they?
So this one here has less scope.
And this is sort of kind of a typical mistake of sort of less experienced players, to actually sort of just start pushing pawns, basically, in this situation. And I remember doing that when I was younger, just pushing center pawns and then realizing, I've just made, made the bishop.
You actually just want to hold them tight there. And
exactly. Yeah. They're in their best positions already, probably.
So I wonder actually if, because some of they've got 2 games they play today. That if it all gets really stodgy, whether they're best off just agreeing a draw and then saving their energy for the next one, or I suppose Matthew in this particular one, Matthew's white and the higher rated, so he'll probably
he might not have
to make the most.
Basically, some positions could be long games, but they still might not have to expend too much energy, because if it's quite strategic, there aren't many.
That's an interesting point of view. So you don't have to actually calculate it.
Just play the game out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas like a sort of a game that's the game that sort of really requires lots of calculation might be more tiring. Depends. It depends if you're comfortable with the position. The games sometimes aren't that tiring, basically.
That's a good way of thinking about it. Okay, let's see Matthew Wadsworth against Zachary Sane.
Okay.
So we have d4, d5, c4, e6. Here we go. The same triangle of pawns we were just looking at.
Yeah. So white's got knight d2, which basically means that black can't go for any of these d takes c4 gambity, note boomy sort of moves, basically.
Yeah.
The slight disadvantage, of course, the knight is not so actively placed on d2, and black can play sort of like create a strategy around that.
Yeah, and the bishop, I guess, now is committing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so black will probably just leave the pawn on d5, and it looks like we reached some sort of Catalan, didn't we? In fact, yeah.
Yeah.
So knight f6,
g3, knight d7.
Oh, okay, so black played this idea of bishop d6, sort of a semi-Slav sort of way of playing.
Okay.
Yeah, the alternative would just be to put the bishop on e7, of course.
Yeah, so this one, he's trying to get this in, I guess.
Yeah, but yeah, of course he is. Yeah, he's got that in mind. If white can get an e4, if white could get an e4 here, that would actually be a nice version of e4, because the bishop generally is not very well placed on d6.
That kind of idea.
Yeah, black would have to take on e4, but then when white goes knight g5 and takes back, the bishop would then be hit by a knight as well. So, but black is obviously has got options going e5 as well. So it all depends on sort of the move orders here, I guess.
Yeah.
So after b3, yeah, okay. So e5 definitely becomes a possibility here, especially with the rook being attacked on a1 after taking.
And then Zachary plays e5.
Yeah.
I don't know Zachary, actually. I'm going to just see. I think he's been having a very good tournament. From Canada.
Mm.
And year of birth 2001.
Okay.
So a youngster. Yeah. And he's all his games have been decisive. So
wow, okay.
4 wins and 2 losses. And no draws at all. So we should see an exciting game next. Okay.
So white took on e5.
So where we're at, so e5 takes.
Oh, I took with the knight. That's interesting. Because black could have taken with the pawn, have an IQP.
Yeah.
That's certainly possible. The idea being, so for example, after bishop b, bishop g, bishop b2, sorry,
yeah.
bishop b2, maybe knight c6, because black doesn't want to exchange pieces. Here we see the sort of slight problem with the knight on d2. It's kind of, what do we do with
it? It's kind of blocking off this.
Yeah, we'd much rather have it on c3 here.
Yeah.
Where it's attacking the pawns, got ideas of knight b5, etc. And this position might still be fine for white, or even better for white, but this is sort of way that black could play against that knight on d2 by accepting an IQP. And black would just play typical moves now, like rook e8, bishop f5, bishop g4, etc. And white will try and get that knight into the game somehow.
Hamsterham, thank you for that background. So Zachary is a big streamer and has been showing his games on the stream each day.
Oh, okay.
That's fantastic. That's interesting.
Yeah. So he's had some good content with 6 decisive games.
Yes, indeed. Oh well, you have to, if you're streaming it afterwards. You don't want just.
You can't.
185k subscribers on his YouTube channel. Wow. Fantastic.
Good. Okay, shall we see what happened? Because he took on d5 with the knight. All looks very natural as well.
Bishop and knight mate earlier in the tournament. Well, yeah, but did he go and promote his pawn into a knight or something so he could get his bishop and knight mate for his fans? That's what my son, when he just started playing, he always played, whenever he played against the sort of low-level computer, he'd always just promote to a bishop or a knight and then do a bishop and knight.
Yeah, I remember that we had a student, a Kent under 11 student, who was he was obviously, he was quite good, but I mean he wasn't a fantastic player. But the one thing he was doing brilliant at was checkmating with bishop and knight against king. So in the British under 11 championship, he had an overwhelming advantage. He was like a queen and 2 rooks up, but then he sort of decided to sacrifice all his queens and rooks and promote 2 pawns to a bishop and knight, and then checkmate in about 3 minutes.
No. I hope he managed.
He did it really easily. Yeah, basically. Yeah, he just knew the technique. perfectly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
I
just
think knowing that stuff, it actually, like, if you practice it, it's good for the coordination of
So it
your
wasn't.
pieces. You
It
do
wasn't.
learn stuff from it. It's not
Yeah,
just for that
exactly.
very
Yeah,
situation.
exactly. It wasn't so much he just learnt it off by heart. He just had a great feel for that type of position and how the pieces coordinated.
Mm.
So he wasn't like trying to recollect. I mean, because obviously, it's the kind of like in a way the easy memory bit is the one where you know from when you're forcing them from one corner to the other.
Mm.
A lot of people can do that bit. But it's just also just the starting position where, like, for example, you know, your kings on one corner, knights in another corner, bishops in another corner, their kings in the middle of the board. It's just sort of like that. How do you coordinate how do you coordinate everything, basically? Yeah,
Okay.
and he was just very good at that.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Ham's giving more background. He's doing a year in the Netherlands to do study and chess at once, and he's trying to get his title, and also get his study. That sounds lots of fun. I like it, you know, like doing two things at once. So like you do a lot of study, and then when you're fed up with that, you go and play some chess, and then when you want to, you're back to the study. It's sort of kind of keeps you thinking about lots of things. It's nice. Right, knight c4, queen e7, bishop takes, c takes, and knight e3. Okay, so Matthew is obviously looking at this d pawn. Is he going to come in and take with the knight? So actually, yeah. So if black just defends
with bishop e6, yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, I suppose we could take it, but what Matthew might just do is play a move like queen d4 to block, and then rook c1 and play the position without actually taking it. But I mean, obviously taking it is critical as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose if you just block it, then this sort of gets in the way of the bishop a bit.
Yeah, I mean, maybe white is just simply going to play the position and like just then put the rooks on the c file, and then, you know, yeah. I mean, black will have to think. I mean, black will have to, if for example, if black just goes rook f d8 here, white will then just play probably rook f to c1.
Okay.
I mean, we could put the other rook now. I'm slightly. I just wanted to. I was slightly concerned about queen a3, perhaps as black for counterplay if we move the other rook. But okay, and then, you know, we're just going to go rook c5 maybe, and then the other rook, and then white's going to say, well, we're just, you know, we just got a grip on the position.
Play.
Yeah, exactly. And white undoubtedly has a little edge there. That might be his idea. So bishop takes d5. Quite a nice idea for white, I think.
Matthew Wadsworth, what's he up to these days? Is he just playing chess, or is he still studying, or what? Do you know?
I don't know. I do know that he is playing a lot of chess. He does play in a lot of tournaments. I don't know whether he's playing more tournaments now than he was like a year ago, but he's certainly playing a considerable amount of tournaments.
Chess.
Yeah, I think did he play at Hastings, for example? I don't know. I've seen lots of his games recently, so I think he's playing quite a bit.
No, you're right. Yeah, no, definitely. He did play Hastings, didn't he? I'm sure he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether he is doing other things as well, but certainly he's giving himself quite a lot of time to play chess.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that is interesting. If we just get that idea, I don't know whether black could have avoided that, but this idea of just taking on.
Do you think this is maybe quite nice for white if we get? Well, black doesn't have to go bishop e6. That was just my move.
No, he could play, for example, bishop h3, for example. Here, that's possible. That might be more ambitious.
Yeah.
And then white can either. White could take on d5 with the knight. That's possible. I mean, that maybe. Yeah. But then knight. Sorry. Maybe he can't, because then well, he can.
Queen e4.
Queen e4 f3 is the idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there isn't any check.
There's no check, otherwise.
So you don't. Yes. Okay. So you just drop
queen
somewhere.
e5, and you can.
I was going to say not queen g6 though. That wouldn't be any good at all.
Yeah. So queen e5, and then white would probably play rook f2, and then black could go, for example, rook a d8, and then white would have to go e4, and then f5 is the move that black wants to play, and it could be Yeah, this is not so easy for white. There's quite a lot of tactics going. The rook on a1 hanging is not ideal for white, is it, either? So we can't move our queen off the back rank. Yeah. Aha, so bishop h3 maybe.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's an idea. Of course, white could just go rook e1. Yeah. Maybe that's what white will do after bishop h3. Just go rook e1. And then if rook's d8, we'd just do the queen d4 again.
On there. And queen d4 and go back to this plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
We'll let them think and see how this one develops. All right. Now, should we skip down any you particularly? Should we see Ruqaiya against?
Yeah, let's
Peter?
have a look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. So Ruqaiya, you might have seen beat Mark Hebden yesterday.
I did. I saw. Yeah, I saw you went through the game briefly at the end. And,
yes.
Yeah, she played a very solid game and then a very good end game.
She did very good end game, and I think she did offer a draw during the game, and Hebs turned it down. But that's what often, like
that's not unusual
because he's not unusual. I mean, yeah, exactly.
I mean, Mark is, well, not just that. Mark is an incredibly fighting player. He doesn't accept that many draws. Actually,
You're right. Mark doesn't accept draws at all, does he? He never accepts draws.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what makes him. That's part of the thing. Yeah, he I mean, sometimes he'll lose his objectivity a little bit because of that, but overall, I think that's helped him tremendously throughout his career. Basically, the fact that he had that really good attitude to fighting chess.
He just doesn't think about it. It's just like, no, I'm not taking.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't really cloud his mind at all. So yeah, okay. So let's have a look.
Okay, so. Yeah, as I actually, Hebs and Peter were at the same dinner last night.
Okay,
that I was just telling you about. That Matthew Turner and Steve Griffin. So Peter was a bit frightened when we saw the draw, and he was playing Ruqaiya just after Hebs had.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not a great time to play her, really. I think it's like goes with the territory these days that if you play in a tournament, you have to be willing to play against very young, very good players, don't you?
Yeah. It's all part of it.
Yeah, it's yeah.
See, I'm not. Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind because I don't mind the rating point wise, but then I'm not professional. I kind of think, if I'm giving my rating points away to anyone, then to the English juniors is the place to give it.
That's where you want to donate.
But then I don't play so much actively, so
yeah. I think with the way the rating system is at the moment, with the amount of deflation, you simply can't worry about rating points now.
Yeah.
It's just a very.
It'll all sort itself out over time.
Well, yeah, maybe, yeah. So okay, so this is just a normal line. D6, and then I think black is probably threatening knight a5 now, so we need to safeguard the bishop. So a4 is a way to do so.
Yep. So a4.
And then knight a5.
And Peter plays knight a5 anyway.
Yeah. So that's one of black's typical plans, and then c5.
Yeah. Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah, typical.
Loz is giving us Heb's draw stories, and so, oh gosh, so Heb was offered a draw, and then he waved his extra pawn at the opponent, looked left and right, and said, "Where's the draw? Where?" So yeah, you've got to be careful offering Hebs a draw, because if you're really worse,
yeah. I think once you get to know Mark, you basically you never offer him any draws anymore. Basically, you just go into his mentality and just play the game.
Yeah. I had to play him in a last round tournament, and he only needed a draw to win the tournament outright, and I was still way too frightened to offer him a draw. And he went on and beat me, obviously.
Right. Okay.
All right. C3.
Knight c6. Okay, yeah, because sometimes once black's got c5 in, sometimes the knight's kind of done its job on the edge of the board, and it just drops back to c6 anyway.
Yeah, and so Ruqaiya's going to get d4 in at some point.
Yeah, I mean, what did she actually played h3, which is definitely lining up d4, because obviously if you play d4 too early, then g4 could be a
cutting
problem.
out this bishop kind of
Yeah.
in the pin.
And the alternative for white was simply to go knight d2, knight f1.
Okay.
Instead of h3, even you didn't need to go h3 if you're going to do it. You could have delayed h3.
So if you don't do that plan, this is.
You could just go knight d2, yeah. And then black has to come up with a plan. I'm wondering whether Peter would have played the move bishop e6, because white's bishop on a2 looks quite strong, doesn't it? And there's a temptation for black just to simply try and get rid of it.
Yes.
Maybe that's what black does. That looks like a reasonable choice, actually.
So she'd have to exchange, would she?
Well, she'd either allow black to exchange or exchange. She probably wouldn't go bishop b1 here. I mean, it's a move, but it's.
No. Yeah, it feels. Yeah. Because this bishop's then quite good, isn't it? If you drop back.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, sometimes when the bishop's on b3, sometimes you drop back to c2 and then go for d4. Right. But actually, when it's on a2, dropping back to b1 is like it's even a step even further, isn't it?
Because it clogs up this back rank.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd probably then need to go bishop c2 anyway. And no, I think that white would either allow an exchange or perhaps try and just take on, probably take on e6 and then go knight f1 and then aim for d4. Play for d4 anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That would be a reasonable choice for white. But she's gone for a very quick d4, yeah?
Yep. So she went h3.
Mm-hmm.
And Peter went h6.
Okay. I mean, he could have considered bishop e6
then
anyway. Yeah.
Has gone d4 already. Yeah. He's got it in. So takes, and knight takes.
And then d5. Aha, that's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So he's just basically going for very quick counterattack in the center before white can get all the queenside pieces out. Sorry, Natasha. I didn't catch that what you said there. It broke up a little bit. Okay, seems to be just me for the moment. So let's see if I can share my screen.
Hi, John.
Hi, you're back.
Yeah, sorry about that. That was my internet. I've switched Wi-Fi networks now. I'm kind of away from home, so I'm just...
Okay.
I've got various, about 3 different ways of getting internet, but I'm never quite sure which one's going to work best. So, but I should be back. Yeah, okay. Let me just find where we are.
Yeah, we're just looking at Rakai's game against Peter.
Yes. Okay. And you're well, you can still see my board.
I can see everything. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, and so we've got this knight on b4 attacking the bishop.
So basically,
this is an extra moves that have been played. So we got to d5.
D5. Yeah. So this is the interesting idea. Basically, it's got quite a nice idea by Peter. Basically, to break out with d5 before white gets organised by developing the queen side.
Yeah.
Especially because knight b4 attacks the bishop on
a2. Bishop on a2.
Yeah, so maybe this d4 move was actually premature.
Okay.
It looks natural, but I feel like, I mean, okay. Well, I don't know. Let's see. I mean, I guess white should now play bishop b3. Yeah.
Yeah.
and then black. Okay, it's
And then
going to be
bishop
interesting.
maybe
And black will
take
take.
again
Yeah, it's
with
interesting. Then after
this
takes,
knight.
maybe white. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of those. And then maybe white should play knight c3 here.
Ah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't mind this. Basically, white can accept a weak pawn on c3, but if black does take on c3, it's not going to be easy to neutralize that bishop on b3.
This looks really nice, bishop now.
It
Yeah.
does, yeah, and the other bishop can maybe get. It's actually not straightforward for black. What black does there? Of course, white's got a weakness on c3, but white's got good compensation for that weakness.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean maybe black. I'm not quite sure what black does. Bishop d7 maybe, and rook c8.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only square for the bishop, isn't it? And then rook c8. Okay, maybe black is fine, but this is probably the way that I like this way of going bishop b3. I don't want. I certainly don't want to swap that bishop off. I don't want to allow
Right.
knight takes. Don't want to allow knight takes a2.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for example, knight c3, knight takes a2, rook takes a2, knight takes d5. Oh, that's actually not. No, sorry. Actually, what I'm talking about. That's actually a possibility, I guess.
Okay. So knight takes here. Rook takes.
Rook takes. Oh, knight takes. Sorry, knight takes d5 does work. Actually, I was wondering about the loose bishop on e7
because the rook's.
Yeah, the rook's hanging, and if knight takes d5 works.
Well, hang on. What if you take on e7? Oh, if you take on e7, they take on c3.
No, if you take on e7 here, knight takes e7.
Knight takes e7.
Yeah. But the idea is if you go knight takes d5, queen takes d5.
Takes d5.
That's working for
you can't.
Working for
yeah,
black,
this one's this one is loose, so you can't take on e7.
Yeah. So it seems like the tactics work. Otherwise, knight c3 would actually be a better move.
Yeah. I see. But bishop b3 looks nice, or at least okay.
I think bishop b3 is the move. Yeah, bishop b3 and then knight c3.
Yeah.
I think one of the knights takes on d5. I mean, yeah. What else? I don't really see what else black does there.
Cool.
Yeah,
all right.
Okay.
That's good. Let's. What else?
A few more games, sort of
Let's
down.
have a look. We need to see Badana. Here we go. Now Badana is playing an IM actually.
Okay.
Bogdan Bosos.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. I'm just going into chess results and just checking. I was going to check Bogdan Bosos and how he's been doing. I think he's been doing all right. So yeah. So he's on. He's had a couple of buys actually. So he's won a couple, drawn one, lost one. He played Rich Pert, lost to Rich Pert in the first round, and also had a couple of half point buys. Okay, and so we've got. We're going to get a pack. Knight c3 and a6.
Yes, there's the modern with a6. Okay, yeah.
Bishop e3, d6, queen d2.
Knight d7.
Knight d7. This is sort of stuff Ali plays, isn't it?
Probably, yeah. I mean, yeah.
I play this sort of stuff as well. Yeah.
It's not a bad line for black.
I like it.
I think the most dangerous lines is where white should probably go h4 very quickly.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
She doesn't though. She's playing a different with.
She's playing quite classically. Yeah. Yeah, that's also fine.
Yeah, and if they go b4 early, I think you just don't worry and drop it back and cast.
You just go knight e2 and then knight g3, and the knight's quite well placed on g3. You can argue that white plays a little bit like a Roy Lopez, actually. This knight
okay.
Yeah, and then you can go c3. Yeah, so it's sort of.
Yeah. So you can play it quite positionally.
Yeah, bishop. In fact, that's what she's done with bishop. Yeah,
not right now. Okay.
You could stream. Yeah, you could stream your games.
Yeah, bishop d3.
Bishop b7.
Bishop b7.
Yeah, sometimes what white does in this position is go a4 and sort of challenge back, go b4, and then bring the knight around to e2 to g3. And then, and then actually, well, also you can, the pawn on b4 needs to be defended. White can sort of sometimes attack on the queen side, for example.
Nice.
But Bogdanova's just gone, she's gone a3 instead to actually prevent b4.
Yep.
At the moment, yeah.
Okay. Stop it.
What's going
This
on?
person keeps challenging me. Right, okay. Rook c8.
And then she's
I
done.
do like forward, but I'm not playing it now.
Yeah.
92. c5.
I think if you just if you ignore it, maybe.
How do I? Is there a way of just kind of?
No, but basically, if you don't answer it, then I think you won't get another one. Is that maybe?
All right. Fine.
So if you actually just don't, if you,
I'll do nothing. I'm going to not react.
Yeah.
Knight gf6.
Next, knight g3.
E5. Here we go. So she's brought her knight round.
Yeah, e5, and now it's kind of like, I mean, it's looking very, very similar to a Roy Lopez now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of structure. And okay, so Bogdanova's decided to block the center with d5.
She's going for a long game. c4. Bishop c2. And knight c5.
And then she decided to take. That's a quite committal decision, of course, taking on c5, because that is our good bishop, isn't it? The bishop on e3. That's the bishop we'd like to keep in a way.
Yeah.
So I think given that Black's not actually threatening to take on e4.
What's Black trying to do? Come in.
Oh, the knight's quite nicely placed on c5, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
B3,
I don't know. I think Black's just going to leave that knight there and then just castle and maybe maneuver the other knight around and try and go for trying to arrange a5, b4. I mean, here I'd say a typical move for White would be the move just h3 to stop knight g4, perhaps, and then just castle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Bogdanova took on c5.
Takes.
Rook takes.
Rook takes and a4.
Then a4.
So
okay.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Kind of breaking up these pawns.
Yeah. So that gives White some play on the a file basically now.
Yeah. So castle, and queen b6.
Yeah, good. Rook a2.
Okay, she's going to double up.
Yeah. Black could consider b4, I guess. To just sort of. Oh no, sorry. B4's not. B4's actually not safe here. Sorry.
Oh, you just take it. Yeah.
Just take it. Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, that's a move Black would definitely want to consider. So rook. No, actually, rook c8 happened actually.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I think the idea basically the rook on c5 is not actually doing a great deal. So
that's interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Maybe he wants to challenge the a file.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So takes, and Bogdanova doubles.
Yeah.
Rook a8.
Yeah, exactly. So he just wants to get rid of. He just wants to neutralize.
Swap it all off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Bogdanova comes back with the knight.
Yeah.
Takes and takes. Oh, and knight g4.
Yeah. Okay. That makes quite a lot of sense because I think basically what's going to happen is Black's going to go for f5 now.
Yes. And e5. So maybe Bogdanova then, could she come in?
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, that definitely be an idea for White. Yeah. I mean, she could go h3 here, and then I guess the knight's going to go bishop h6. Bishop h6 is maybe. I wonder whether actually the whole thing is about just to get the play bishop h6. So Black could just go, for example, after h3, Black could go bishop h6
already.
Queen e2. So you have to guard f, and then just knight back to f6. And Black's just basically said, I just did that to get my bishop onto a nice diagonal. Now the knight's going to come to d7 to c5. That might be his idea.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he's just got the queen to move.
Yeah, he's basically just managed to win that diagonal with knight g4 and bishop h6. So it might not be to play f5 immediately. Because my initial thought was to meet h3 with knight h6 so that he could then play f5. But I think this is what he's going to do.
Would she B want to do something like B3 and try and swap
I think she should try and
her.
do. I think she should try and do something on the queen side before too long.
Yeah.
Because I can. Well, I don't know. I can see Black's position improving step by step. If White sort of just sits on the position, then Black will go knight d7, knight c5, maybe then bishop c8 and put the bishop on a nice and diagonal to d7, and then eventually f5, or so.
Yeah.
I think I'm not quite sure. I mean, basically, this is the problem of exchanging your very good dark bishop earlier on. Basically, is that now that bishop on h6 has got no opponent.
Yes.
And
could she do a plan? I was thinking of trying a plan with f4 or something, but actually I can't see how to even get it working because.
Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult for White
Queen
to do.
side, you reckon? So maybe.
Yeah, maybe knight d2. Maybe just try and.
So from here, let's start from here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So here.
Maybe not even h. Well, maybe h. Yeah, perhaps h3. Let's try h3. Yeah. Bishop h6. Queen e2. Knight f6.
She could go.
Yeah, I mean, I think what might happen. Well, maybe knight from f1.
She could go g4 and try and block the bishop off from that diagonal.
But then the bishop will probably park itself on f4.
Oh yeah. Oh, that'd be really annoying. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sort of thinking about moves like one of the knights to d2 and then playing b3.
Yeah, maybe we'll go with this knight.
Okay. And then, and then sort of go b3 and then take, and then go bishop d3 to attack the pawn on b5, basically. The slight problem is that Black could maybe just play a move like rook c8 here, and that kind of discourages b3, doesn't it? I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure how White can actually play actively in this position.
Yes.
It might just be a case of, I mean, knight e3 here, perhaps.
Kevin's asking, is Black preferable in this position?
I think if I had to choose, I'd choose Black.
Yeah.
Not by much, but because I mean, White still has that space. But that dark square bishop is annoying.
You like that one?
Yeah, that's why after knight e3, I'm not actually bothered by Black going bishop takes e3. I'll accept us.
Right. So takes.
I'll probably take with the queen actually.
Queen. Okay.
Yeah. And if Black exchanges queens, I think this is now fine for White again, because Black's left with the bishop on b7, which is not a great piece. Even though it's traditionally Black's good bishop, because the Black's center pawns are on different squares. The way that White's pawns are, it kind of blunts the bishop.
Yeah.
And now White could play for an advantage. I mean, White could go rook a5, knight b1 to a3, and just attack that pawn.
That looks nice.
Yeah, or even rook a7 with knight b1 to. Yeah, but I guess Black is not, after knight e3. Black is not going to take.
Right. So something like here.
Probably just knight d7. And I'm wondering whether White. I mean, knight g4. I just don't really see it working, particularly when we don't have a dark square bishop.
Yeah.
So I'm not exactly sure how White actually.
What the plan is. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's not obvious what White does.
Maybe redeploy this rook.
Well, I think rook a1 would be a good starting point, because
and then you're still on the a file, but
exactly. I think Black might go rook a8. And then we'll probably do exchange rooks. But at the moment on a2, and then we exchange.
Okay, and then you maybe do have possible to go b3.
Perhaps we could play b3 now. Yeah. And take with the knight, and then, I mean, if we could do it now, and then they take, and we take with the knight, and the bishop on a8 is a bad piece. at the moment. So that's White's saving grace.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Black could go F5, but of course that involves quite a lot of risk. In probably Black, I don't think here. I think it's suicidal here actually.
Okay.
but even sort of what I'm saying is that even White's pieces are all geared up against F5, aren't they? The bishop on C2, the knight on E3.
Yeah.
So
oh,
Black,
you're absolutely right, John. These H3 and bishop H6 have happened. So this is
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Queen E2 forced here because or Queen E1, I guess, is the other option. But I mean, have to defend the F2 square, don't you? F2 pawn.
Yeah. So if you go Queen E1, you might later go there, but you can't actually go there because at the moment because of that.
Well, the knight has to retreat, so it is possible then to go Queen A1.
Right. Yeah.
But
So
I'm not. To be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure
where you're actually going to on the A file.
Yeah, exactly. You can get because to be honest, if you move your rook to A7, your queen's tied to its defense, so it might be.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I don't know. We'll
see.
see. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I think probably Queen. If you're going to come back, then Queen E2 is probably better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. Lovely. Yep. Let's see a different one. Right. Any ones you particularly would like to see, or shall we go back to back to the start?
Yeah, let's go back to the start. Yeah, we've actually gone through quite a lot of games, haven't we? So it'd be good to revisit them.
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like Jonah Willow did decide to castle queenside.
Yes. Where were we? Oh, so we were here, weren't we? 95.
Bishop B7.
Bishop B7. And Jonah did play. We were discussing Queen A4 and also Bishop B5.
Yeah, and he did play Queen A4 check, but not with the idea of winning a pawn. Simply with the idea of developing the queen, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. C6.
And then Bishop E3. Because I guess taking the pawn is probably just too risky. Yeah. Black can go Queen D7. And then we've got to go Bishop B5, and then maybe Black can go A6, and that might just be winning for Black. Because if Knight takes E7, Black could just play. Well, A takes B5 is just winning for Black, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Bishop E3 he played. Yeah. Developing.
Queen C7, natural move by Black. Then White castled, and then Black castled.
Okay, so we've got opposite side
castling. Yeah, interesting position.
Which I guess Jonah would like.
Yes, of course.
And probably Tivy wouldn't mind either. They're probably both reasonably.
No, because at least Tivy's got his queenside counterplay. I think in an ideal world, actually, White would have preferred just to have gone Queen E2 and castled without doing all this 95. So I'm not quite sure what it might well be that Black's got more counterplay now than normal, but we'll see.
Okay.
Queen C2. I mean, this G4 move is coming quickly, isn't it? C5. C5 happen now? Yeah.
Yes, straight away.
I mean, I've seen players play G4 here and just give up the exchange. That's possible. Even that, because you know.
Yeah. So if they take,
you just take back. Yeah.
And then you've got these coming in.
Yeah. You just you've got quite a good attacking force. It's not easy for Black to exchange pieces here. And
that looks nice.
I mean, it's not
compensation. Yeah,
it's definitely compensation. I mean, Black might have a concrete way of doing something there, but I have seen that in similar positions, White just giving up the exchange.
Yeah,
because the bishop on B7 is a strong piece after all, isn't it? Yeah, so and you can argue that you only need one rook for this attack. So you got all your queens, 2 bishops, and knights quite strong, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so he went rook He1 instead.
He went rook E1. Yeah. And Tivy H6.
Yeah, I wonder if that's so he can challenge the knight with knight D7. We'll see.
Okay, yeah, it's certainly takes this pawn off priest, doesn't it, from here?
But obviously, it does allow White to go G4, H4. Like it provides a hook for White as well.
Yeah, G4 looks. Now you mention it, G4 looks really nice here, doesn't it?
What did White play?
White played something different. Queen E2.
Okay.
Takes.
I know. I understand what maybe Tivy was going to do. I think maybe what he was going to play knight D5. That's his idea.
Take this one off.
Yeah, and the point is now it's not so easy for White to get H4 and G4, because after H4 White could even consider taking on e3 and then take on h4. And maybe it's not so easy to then. It might not be easy for white to actually open. Yeah, and then maybe even bishop takes h4, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe not so easy for white to actually get the position open enough.
Right. Yeah.
So that might be the idea to actually go knight d5.
Yeah.
And
so Jonah didn't go g4, not yet anyway. Queen.
Queen e2. Because another thing that Jonah could have done was rook h to g1, just move the rook just one square instead of going rook e1.
Right, back.
Yeah.
A little bit. So from here.
Yeah, just go rook g1 to support the g4, g5 advance.
Yeah.
Um,
Doesn't seem like the g4. Maybe Jonah's doing different.
I'm pretty sure he'll know about that g4, but
yeah,
maybe he might just be a bit dissatisfied with some of the concrete things that black can do. Like even here, of course, knight h6 is possible, and then after g4, then this move knight d5.
Yeah.
I can't see any. Well, it's got no tactics with bishop h7 and knight f7 no. So, and if g5, then knight takes e3's arrived just in time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can even maybe take with the bishop.
You just do bishop take with the bishop, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting. And so the other option after knight d5 is to bring the knight bishop back to d2. But then black will take on d4, threatening the knight on e5, which is a slight concern. And of course, if white recaptures, then the queens come off, and then white's attack is no longer.
No more attack.
Well, maybe he still has one, but obviously it's. I mean, black could also go rook c8 instead of swapping queen. Black is not so nice for white anymore, is it? Basically, yeah. So this knight d5 move is slightly annoying. So he went queen e2 on move.
Yeah, queen e2 here.
Yeah, and I guess the point about it is that maybe that discourages knight d5 a little bit because the queen sort of can come round to,
so if knight d5 straight away.
Yeah.
What queen out to?
I wonder about bishop.
Bishop h6.
Bishop h6 possible.
Queen g.
Queen g4. Bishop g5 does actually come with check.
Yeah.
Slightly annoying.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
So they could even do it now.
Yeah, but white just goes king b1. It's kind of completely clear, is it?
No.
Maybe black can play the move f5 here. That might be a good move.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, it allows the black queen to come to defend along the second rank.
Right.
And it also blocks white's bishop on d3, so white's kind of running out of attackers. Yeah, so maybe white can't do this. So, but anyway, white doesn't have to do anything extreme. I mean,
no.
Okay.
Okay. So so after this,
he didn't.
Actually, Tibi took in the center.
Yeah.
With cd4.
Okay. Bishop takes.
Bishop takes.
That's interesting now because now knight d5 no longer comes with tempo on the bishop.
Yeah.
What did he play now? Or he went rook a8. That does actually threaten to actually take the bishop.
You've got to be careful, of this pin down there.
I mean, typically for white would play the move king b1 now. What did he play? Bishop c4.
Oh, sorry. He didn't do that.
Yeah.
He went bishop c4. Yeah, I would.
Bishop.
The natural move looks like this, doesn't it?
Yeah. Bishop c4 is a move you'd prefer not. You'd prefer to go king b1, with all things considered. Because you safeguard the king more, and also your bishop's pointing nicely down on the b1 to h7 diagonal. So after king b1, does black actually have something?
Something they're doing.
I don't see anything obvious.
Let's see it. I think Jonah's trying to.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's definitely trying some action on that diagonal with some sacrifices. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that black can Tivyakov just responded with bishop d5, which kind of
No, I know what you mean, because I would also naturally
because after
just
king b1, we still
king B1.
this idea of g4 g, you know, still this it's kind of like it's coming, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
And
king's just a bit safer here.
It's a bit safer. There's no our bishop on d4 is a really solid. Our centre's solid. That's why I was actually I'd be happy if they took on d4, but we might be missing just some obvious counterplay by black. I mean, rook takes d4. I don't really trust. Bishop c5 maybe to loosen. That might be the way to black to play. Yeah, bishop c5. That's probably it. You just need to loosen this sort of d file.
Yeah. Yeah, because the bishop's needed.
Yeah, so for example, now we don't now you know, white feels like black wants to go bishop takes d4, of course, yeah. So if we take on c5 for white, you do queen takes, and there might well now be. I mean, you can obviously go g4, but it might well be that black gets enough counterplay now.
Yeah. You could still eventually do.
You can try, for example, you could consider doubling rooks, like rook d6, and then h4, and then rook d8, and this is this sort of and then for example, now if g5, maybe black can now go knight e4,
and there's pin,
and we're threatening queen takes e5.
Yeah.
And if bishop takes e4, got rook takes d1, swap off all the rooks, then bishop takes e4, check at the end. So black's counterplay just comes in. It seems like it just comes in time, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So he went bishop.
Junov does this one.
d4, yeah.
And
there's definite knight takes f7 ideas.
Wants to play this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's actually might be a threat. Yeah. It's not clearly a threat because black will have bishop d, knight takes f7, rook takes f7, queen takes e6, bishop d5.
Right.
But it's looming, isn't it?
We've had other games already this tournament where, who was it? Shreyas yesterday gave up 2 pieces for a rook and pawn and actually got a really good. He won it. He got
it. He had some brilliant, really nice tactics there, didn't he? His opponent could never quite consolidate.
Yes. But in general, you'd probably prefer the 2 pieces. In not in that position.
I mean, obviously, white's getting it's like a rook and 2 pawns, isn't it?
Rook and 2.
So it's, I guess it's roughly level material. So it all depends on other factors.
Yeah.
But bishop d5 is solid, isn't it?
Depending.
Yeah.
And then takes.
And then rook takes.
And rook takes.
Okay. White has still got the possibility of g4. I mean, at some stage. So if it still all depends on if black can get enough counterplay, like against white's king, or not. Sorry, not even the king. Just sort of like on the d file. I think bishop c5 is a move that's probably going to come. I mean, so for example, if white plays g4 now, then probably rook d8 first, threatening rook takes bishop, king b1, and then bishop c5. And I think that black is,
so maybe g4 you can't.
I think it's not what. It feels like I'm not quite sure when we could. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Maybe this whole thing about having this clever little move order that Tivy did, forcing the queen to go to a4, rather than e2 is like its ideal home in these sort of positions.
Yeah.
Maybe that's meant he's just got just enough counterplay for white's sort of attack not to work. So I mean, okay, obviously white can play more quietly. White doesn't have to go for g4.
Yeah. You can just kind of.
You can just play king b1 and then just play basically. I mean, but I think that black is sort of doing okay.
Yeah.
We've got to watch out. We've got to watch out for knight takes f7 still in certain positions. Rook d8. But I think probably rook d8, knight takes f7. Black can take safely with the king.
Queen takes.
And then king f8.
King f8. You've got to keep defending that bishop, don't you?
Yeah, not king g6. So king f8. And the problem for white is that there's no, if the bishop moves, his bishop's pinned.
Yeah.
So I don't see anything for white here. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so that looks. okay for black, just roughly equal, I think, still.
Yep.
But black is certainly doesn't have to fear white's attack on the king side, I don't think. But we'll see. We'll see.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see now. So this was a Roy Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where did we get up to?
I think we got to position after knight BD2, perhaps. On
knight BD2. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And so black, who's Grandmaster, Francesco Sonis, came in with knight B4.
Yeah, so that's similar to Peter Wells's.
It is. It reminds me. It's reminding me of Peter Wells.
The idea is just simply to go C5, basically.
Yeah.
And the knight is safe on B4 because white can't play C3 yet because the D3 pawn hangs. So yeah, that's a good way of doing it, isn't it? Because other knight moves don't work, of course. I mean, you can't. Well, knight D4, I guess, but I mean, this is a good way to play for C5.
Yeah.
So knight F1.
So Mickey and knight F1.
Yeah.
And then C5 comes in. And now this D pawn's defended, so Mickey can go C3.
Yeah, white. I mean, black sometimes can get away with knight takes D3 and C4. I mean, that's possible in certain positions.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, but I mean, you are sacrificing a pawn, but sometimes you do get quite a bit of like. Yeah, there might be an occasion where black would get some light square play here with the bishop, but
this one's quite good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but probably it's not quite enough. So
not good enough.
So he played knight C6.
So you drop back, and Mickey came in with this knight, looking at these squares.
Yeah, there's definite parallels, aren't there, with Ricard's game against Peter Wells?
Yeah.
Mickey hasn't gone for a quick D4, has he?
No, he hasn't yet.
Yeah, he's just playing more slowly.
Yes.
Okay, so what happened after this?
Bishop E6.
Yeah, just challenging that bishop. That makes a lot of sense.
So Mickey comes in with knight D5.
And you can't take with the knight.
You can't take with the knight because it's just the fork.
Yeah, so queen
D7.
And then bishop G5.
G5 from Mickey.
Now there's a genuine positional threat to take on F6. So, so that encourages black to exchange with bishop takes.
Exchange and bishop takes. And knight takes. Pawn takes.
And then knight D8 was the only safe square for the knight.
And this is where they're at.
So Mickey's probably deciding about whether to exchange bishops or whether to drop it back.
Yeah.
Or whether just to leave it on G5. I mean, basically, this idea of putting of allowing the exchange on D5 and a pawn on D5, the pawn has the advantage that it really restricts temporarily, at least, the knight on D8. So if white can make use of it by sort of getting an early D4 in, for example, that could give white the advantage. Yeah, if you, for example, if you imagine a scenario where there's quite a few exchanges on D4, white's pieces are more active. The knight on D8 can't get into the game for a while.
Yeah.
But there's quite a bit more to think about because after D4 in certain positions, black could take with the E pawn and then play, and then after, and then after takes back, black could play the move. Well, obviously here the E7 bishop is hanging, so I'm thinking more generally.
Yeah.
But basically, black can play the move C4, basically after, and get that queenside pawn majority. So, for example, if white goes, actually, I mean, bishop takes E7 followed by D4 is certainly possible.
Okay.
And what black might consider doing now is taking with the C pawn and then either playing E4 or possibly just F6 and then knight F7. Getting the knight back into the game that way.
Right.
I feel like white's probably a bit better in this position, but there's also the move E4 to consider as well for black. Instead of, and they're double-edged, because, of course, if it goes wrong for white, white's left with these funny double D pawns, but if it goes right, then often white gets a dominating position because black can't get the knight on D8 into the game properly.
Yeah, and that knight's then hampering the rooks as well.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's see, right. So this one, where were we with this one? I
think we were just at the position after H4 on move.
Just here?
Yeah, that's it.
15.
Okay. So rook c8 happened.
Yes, and we were thinking, yeah.
Then,
Oh no,
sorry,
and we did
actually,
d3
yeah,
and
we
G.
did, and then g6, yeah, and then
G6 we definitely talked about.
he did indeed play f4,
F4.
yeah,
Yes.
and with
And
maybe
I
with
was going to ask you, but I didn't actually ask at the time. What about
f6.
f6? Because is that like trap?
Oh yeah, it does actually
Bishop?
trap the bishop, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly something to consider, isn't
There's
it?
probably
Yeah.
like big, like maybe e5. So say you did and try and trap this bishop, then
Yeah,
there's
probably got to
maybe
go. Probably
e5 or
got to go
something.
for e5. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm pretty sure you have to play e5. There's no other move.
Yeah.
And now
Rich
black.
block weaving 1 on board 12. We'll go there next.
Okay.
Um.
So black. I think black has to take the bishop. I don't really see another option. And then bishop takes g6 check. And actually, e takes d6 is coming, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah. And there's a fork.
Yeah. I mean, okay, there's a few more tactics going on. Black could go queen takes d6 and swap everything off and then go knight takes f4. I feel there should be good. I mean, okay, there might well be some just... yeah, or bishop c6 first, but this is possible. I think just rook takes d7 here is probably just good for white, isn't it?
Yeah.
Knight takes g6. I say probably. I mean, it feels good.
You might go h5.
Yeah, then knight back. Yeah, then knight f4. It just, I don't know. It should be good for white. I mean, rook f1, then king e8, I guess, and black's trying to hang on that way.
Yeah.
It's not completely straightforward because black, in this position, for example, black will then take on h4 with the pawn and run that pawn down. So
Yeah.
Clearly, there's. I mean, that was just one line, and there could have easily been a crushing move for white in that variation somewhere. Yeah. So but certainly f6. Yeah, it's obviously a consideration, isn't it? Okay.
So takes queen c5, e5.
Right. So it's the idea of trying to get knight e4 in here, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So bishop c6.
Yeah.
And bishop e4.
Yeah. So obviously, if knight e4, black would actually just swap.
Take it off. Yeah.
Take it off and then go d5 and say, well, you'll blunt the bishop a little bit. Now I mean, I guess d5 is still possible, but it does mean that the bishop will just retreat to f3, I assume, and then white would have the plan of going knight d2, knight e2 to d4, and the bishop on c6 isn't a brilliant piece, is it? So what actually happened after bishop e4? We took on
takes on e5.
Yeah, okay.
And then takes and knight e4.
Knight e4 is a nice move, isn't it? Or at least it's a very...
Oh, because if the queen
yeah,
then you've got so if that, then you've got queen
d7, king f8, and then you take the rook.
And I guess you just take the rook.
King g7, and this is probably good for white.
Yeah.
Queen probably goes to c7. And we're going
to not take on a6.
Oh, that's possible. Maybe just take on maybe just start taking some queenside pawns, yeah?
Yeah.
And yeah, you feel this is good for
black
white.
Can take on the king side.
It's a little bit imbalanced because black's got loads of pawns on the king side, yeah. But yeah, so this move knight e4 is a bit of a that's a good
one. Yeah,
it is.
Nice.
Because now there's knight d6 coming. And assuming if black castles kingside, if Strauss castles kingside,
he hasn't moved his king yet, has he? No.
No, I think no.
I just had to check. Yeah, so Strauss
he hasn't moved his rook either.
Yes.
So he could castle.
He can do it.
It is legal. Yeah, it's legal.
Yeah. That's
I think the trouble is knight f6 might just be very strong as well. Strike the immediate knight f6.
Yeah.
Because after takes, pawn takes, queen h2 is such a crushing.
This is going to be
threat.
Big move. Yeah.
Black can't.
You have to, but you could. I'm just thinking how you could maybe defend like that.
No, that
Queen
doesn't defend, I'm afraid. Queen
No.
h2. You're going to get a lawnmower checkmate. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Checkmate. Lawnmower. Oh gosh.
So
So
after 94, I wonder what the best option is. It's a bit of a shocking move, 94. I mean, can Shrez just go and move like King F8? Just to avoid Knight D6 being a fork.
yeah. So
threatening queen
this knight's pinned, right? Can't you just
threatening
lie
knight,
down?
threatening queen takes knight, of course, as well.
Queen
Yeah.
takes knight. Yeah.
And queen D8's not working, so knight F6, I guess. White will
F6.
consider. But at least, okay, so at least now, what's White actually threatening to do?
Yes.
It's not entirely clear, is it?
No.
Oh. Sorry, there's a big miss there to consider. After King F8, there's the move Queen B4 check.
Queen B4, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
okay.
I'm not saying
the
it's a
king
great
can move, right? So king out
I'm
here.
not saying it's a good move. I just completely overlooked that that's a possibility.
Yeah. No, it's just looking
Right.
too bad.
King G7 might be fine, yeah? Because now we're actually Queen takes C2 as another.
Because this is where the king wants to go. Okay, and then this is threat, right?
Yeah, it's not a disastrous threat for White, but it's certainly a possibility for Black, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, White could. Yeah, I mean, okay, this is interesting. I think it looks okay for Black. If the knight comes to F6, we'd probably just ignore it and think about if White.
Maybe White's better off just not doing that check.
Not giving the check, yeah. So what were we saying? We were saying maybe in the position after 94 that Black could just move
knight F6, weren't we? King F8, knight F6.
Knight F6, but we were asking what White's actually threatening there.
Right.
And if Black could maybe just go E takes F4, for example. I know it's greedy, but I'm just wondering.
Instead of King F8.
No, King F8. We need to play King F8. So White's threatening Knight D6. White's threatening Knight D6 check to win the rook.
Yeah. So King F8, Knight F6.
Knight F8. Unless Shreyas is thinking about actually sacrificing the exchange, but let's do this moment, and then just pawn takes pawn. And then the question is, what is White?
Oh gosh, you know what?
Yeah, we got something. We're missing something.
We've got some moves. No, but they're going down a different path.
Okay, sure. What happened then?
94. He's taken it.
Okay, let's have a look. Okay, this is definitely imbalanced.
So this was this kind of crazy endgame. So here,
King F8.
King F8
takes G7.
G7.
And now he's having a think.
And now he's having to think whether he wants to.
Yeah, whether he wants to take
on A6 or not.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. And so if he does.
Yeah. So Black
maybe Black takes one of these.
Yeah, I mean we could play Rook A8, but I just think White's going to take on B5. I don't think that really helps us a great deal.
Yeah.
So I think we should just take that pawn.
With the pawn?
Probably with the pawn, yeah. I don't think we want to take the knight and exchange rooks, do we? That would just
no. But the other one is the queen. You could as well. Yeah. So say they take.
Yeah.
And then Black tries to run the pawn down. Just queen it.
Yeah, it looks. It must admit, it kind of looks
speculative. Okay.
It does, yeah, but I'm not quite sure what else we do though. Actually,
you could do Rook C8.
We could go Rook C8. That's now we're Rook C8 now makes sense
because then that means the knight can move and you don't have to exchange anything.
But I'm wondering, how about if White just plays the move Queen D3?
Queen D3.
I feel like Black has to exchange now. I mean, White is actually the whole exchange up.
Yeah.
There's 3 pawns, but I mean, it's still kind of still there's some. I mean, I don't know. It's, feel like my intuition feels that White's this is just good for White, just very good for White.
Yeah.
Black at least has some pawns. We can maybe go e5 in that position.
Yeah.
Is there some...
So here then, so assuming white does take this.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether black can do something else.
Mm.
I don't really see it. You can't actually move the knight.
You could try and keep this pawn.
You could go b4. You could go b4, but then white gives white a chance to go f takes e5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And takes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and then just...
I kind of feel like, yeah,
just something like even just rook g1. I don't really see where I don't see black having enough here at all.
Mm.
It's a whole exchange down, and black's not going to be able to push those pawns now.
Yes.
Without exposing the king.
Okay, let's have a quick look then at Richard York weavings on board 12.
Okay. Oh wow, this is all over. Yeah.
Ooh, checkmate. So I'll just run through the opening really fast. So Sicilian. And I don't know if that's a proper line. Queen b6 to c7.
Yeah, that's a typical actual idea for black. The point being the queen wants to be on c7 eventually, but the idea is that you attack the knight, and and black's idea is the knight is less effective on b3 for attacking purposes on the king side, basically.
Yeah.
White. Yeah. Whereas if you leave it on d4, if you just go queen c7 immediately, the knight could be quite useful on d4.
Right.
Yeah.
So, wonder what Richard's doing. Yeah, he is an actuary. I know. Or I assume he still is.
Okay. Right. Okay. That doesn't okay. We've actually got, of course, Lee chess. It doesn't. It doesn't sort of hesitate, does it, to like annotate the game? We don't have much time, basically. Yeah. So we're told that's a bad move, basically. Is that actually saying plus 5.6? Does that actually? Wow. Is it that bad?
Oh,
just knight d5 is a bit of a killer, isn't it?
Knight d5.
Yeah. Because the trouble is, if you just move your queen takes g7. Yeah. It's as simple as that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically.
So here.
Oh yeah, this is awful.
Takes. Now queen to 7. Yeah, and then
this is terrible for black. Black's got no. Yeah, black's just completely lost here, unfortunately. Yeah. Okay. Nice little checkmate at the end.
Well done.
So definitely e5. Yeah, I guess if we just go back to that position, it'd be worth noting to see what actually happening in that position before e5.
Before e5, let's have a look.
Clearly, I guess basically after queen g3, black is concerned about the move about white playing e5. I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
And so basically, just to give an example, if black castles here, then he's concerned by the idea of going e5 for white, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. And then if knight d7, then bishop h6. White's actually going to win material. Yeah. And it's not the end of the day, actually, because after g6, bishop f8, rook f8. It's not completely clear, this position, because blacks might well win the e5 pawn. White's given up a good bishop, of course. But if we go back, but probably white's better. But if we go back a little bit after... in that position after queen g3 on move before he plays e5. So black has to probably be a little bit creative here and consider a move like g6. Because in effect, we're not actually normally worried by the move e5 because it is a committal move by white.
Mm.
Yeah, because if black can survive, so for example, if black can just take and then go knight d7, and if white doesn't actually have anything immediate, black is actually getting quite decent counterplay by attacking that pawn.
Yeah, so in this line, probably e5 is not the move then.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Does it actually mention G? Oh, C, yeah. Well, it's actually mentioned as Black's best move there. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't, yeah.
Oh
Sometimes
no,
it does.
castles were best. They thought castles. Lichess thought castles was the best thing to do.
Oh, that's interesting. So yeah, because also after castles E5, Black has the option to go knight H5 as well, and then G6.
Right.
That's a typical,
Maybe that's maybe that's the
yeah.
thing.
And then after Queen H3, just G6. That's also a possible idea for Black. Typical Scheveningen idea. And Black's kind of Black's sort of situation is quite solid. Notice that G4's not really a move that White want to play with that bishop on B7, saying hello to the king. So Black's position is actually quite resilient in these Scheveningen positions, and that you don't have to panic about White playing E5, basically.
All right, John. I suggest we take just a 5-minute break.
Yeah, okay.
And then
do I just leave or do I just mute? And
I'm just going to take you off the screen, so you don't need to do anything.
Okay.
I'll do that now, and I'll hide myself, and we'll put on what we'll show is the players. So we're just going to be back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Hi, John. Hiya.
Oh, hi, Natasha.
Hello. How are you doing?
Good.
You can see lots of games still in progress, and just a few have finished. And the top board's up there, still going. And then you can see Rakaya and Peter. And I'm trying to pick out. This is Ayan just here in the foreground. Lots of. Oh, there's Badana. You can see she's concentrating hard.
Is she just on the right-hand side? Yeah.
Right on the far right.
Yes. She's in the tank, isn't she?
Yes, she's having a big think there.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I'm going to put the games back on.
So we're just looking at Richard Weaving's game, weren't we? That he won.
We were. So let me just pick. Where do you want to go? Did we see Mickey's?
Yeah, one thing I suddenly saw there was that Craig Hanley. We haven't actually looked.
Let's see Craig Hanley. Yes, okay.
We'll go back to Mickey. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we've looked at this game at all, actually, have we?
No, you're absolutely right. Craig Hanley against Lorenzo Fava,
who's having a really good tour. Well, actually, both players are having good tournaments. But in particular, Lorenzo Fava is very impressed with his play. Actually, he's having a great, very good tournament. Actually, I mean, he played a game against Mickey. It was him who played Mickey, wasn't it, earlier on?
Yes.
And he drew he drew a very solid game, and he was probably even a little bit better at the end, actually, when they agreed to draw. And
yes. All right. Do you want to go from the start with Craig, or
let's very, very quickly go from the start, unless there's something. Yeah, we'll just briefly go through.
I'm just going to put the moves and shout if you want to stop. So
yeah, no, nothing much to say apart from just a normal collie sucker talk. Although this E5 move is quite this idea of Queen C7 and E5. It's not often Black gets E5 so easily. Which it does feel like a gain for Black. It's often when Black's kind of threatening to go E5, White gets to jump the knight into E5. So I must admit, I haven't actually seen this idea before. It doesn't look bad at all, actually.
For Black?
Yeah, just if Black can get E5 in, it just seems to solve most of his problems, really.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there is this check to think about.
The Craig's done check.
Yeah, but maybe it's not such a big problem.
Yeah, and then the sequence just carries on.
Yeah. And as long as after knight f3, our queen, okay, c4. Maybe Black what did Black do? Went knight f6 anyway. So it depends whether White can actually do anything about Black's just lack of castling at the moment. But I don't, if he can't, then Black is just absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But he does try. Okay.
Oh, interesting move.
I like this idea. So this is Craig Hanley's playing White, so he is trying to do something. Yeah. If White just, for example, made a move like Queen E2, Black would just castle and Black would be absolutely fine. So B4 is trying to trying to do something about this lack of development. Yeah.
Yes, get some.
Black has only got one more move to castling, but White just needs to do something now. It's now or never, basically.
Because if Black were to castle now, White could just take on D5 and then take on C5.
Yeah, and then the key thing is that White then gets the D4 square for the knight, which I think is an important part of strategy, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, if we just go back to position, when White didn't go B4, sorry, if White just goes Queen E2.
Yeah.
And then Black just castles, and White plays a move like Rook, takes on D5, and Black takes with the knight. This sort of position is absolutely fine. Black can also go. He's got this sort of queenside majority, and also the knight on F3 can't really get into the game very easily. Yeah, but by playing this move B4, what Craig Hanley's trying to do is exchange some pawns off in the center, which will then mean the knight can. So, for example, if all those 4 pawns, those sort of Tetris of pawns there in the middle, if they actually get exchanged off, that sort of White's quite happy because the knight then can go to a nice square D4, which he can never shift that knight, and then white can maybe just sort of do a kind of a minority attack against the other pawns, if that makes sense.
Oh, what, with the A pawn?
Yeah, just sort of go queen b3, rook b1, and after b6 go a4, a5. You know,
Yeah,
leave black with a nice.
In the end game.
Then win the 4v3 like Keith, basically like the way that Keith wins hundreds of games, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And b4, like it's not the most obvious move, but it showed that Craig was really thinking deeply about the position.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but obviously there's complications in the game. Black took on c4,
C4,
and then white took on c5. So we've got this pawn pair, these c4, c5, so that it complicates matters, yeah.
Yeah, but white does have this d4 square now, doesn't it?
White has the d4 square. I mean, if you took those c pawns off the board, then white would probably just have a nice little edge. Black would be hoping maybe to try and win the c5 pawn, but white's, no, I don't know, because white's going to go rook b1. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, castles. Rook b1, and black looks at this c pawn.
Yeah. So black's trying to imbalance position, because white could obviously take on b7. White can maybe even just win a pawn here. Take on b7 and then take on a7. But black's hoping for the c pawn would actually be... Yeah, the c pawn could be very good compensation.
Yeah.
And that's not without... I mean, that's also... Maybe there's some other possibilities for black.
Yeah, so Craig instead...
Played knight
brings
d4.
This one in.
Okay.
First.
Queen d5.
Queen d5. Okay, interesting. And then plays c6.
Yeah. So this feels like this doesn't feel too bad for black if this is what the best that white can do.
Yeah, because black can take this, right?
And he did take it, yeah.
And he did.
So, and actually black's temporarily a pawn up, albeit doubled, but it feels like that this is about the best that black could hope for, I think, after b4. So I'm wondering, maybe rook takes b7. I'm wondering about. I like the way that black reacted to this b4 move, actually.
So maybe rook b7 instead of knight d4.
Yeah, it's possible that queen a6 is a good response. Actually, I'd forgotten about that.
Okay.
Not just rook takes c5, just queen a6.
Yes. Because if you drop the rook back...
Yeah, then...
Oh, black can take this one and then this one.
Yeah, and c3. And then also black's got pressure against a2, so this feels as though it's worked quite well for black. Yeah,
I see. So queen a6 is the key move.
Maybe against rook takes b7.
Okay.
So even though it's too quick to sort of conclude, but even though b4 looks like a move that has good intentions, maybe it just concretely doesn't actually give black too many problems because the way black's reacted in the game seems to be quite good.
Okay, so white's looking to
win the
take
pawn
now.
Yeah. But obviously you have to think, the tactics. You can't take it. Yeah, it's not completely straightforward to win it back. That's the problem.
Yeah. And this is where they're at. So Craig's gonna see.
Yeah.
What he can do. Yeah. Okay. So this knight, there is this kind of rook lined up against the queen.
But, yeah. Doesn't appear to be any obvious
nothing too scary that white can do.
White could try. One thing white could try is do f3 followed by e4 just to get the queen away.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how that improves white. I mean, the queen could just rest on c5 or e5. Well, not e5 necessarily because knight takes c6. But black's going to improve the position in the next couple of moves as well. So I feel like I don't know. It's different. It's never completely easy because if white can actually consolidate and then actually take one of those pawns, white's structure is still slightly better. But
yeah,
it feels
like wouldn't white want to get the knight round to somewhere like e5?
You mean just no knight f3 here? But then, How do you sort
I
of?
was thinking
mean,
that, and then I suddenly thought F4, but then you're compromising.
To be honest, I think white just wants to win the pawn. I mean, for example, knight F3, knight D2. Yeah.
Yeah. So knight F3, say, then the queen
goes to B5 or C5.
Yeah.
Not B4. Sorry, we need to be defending the knight, so we probably need to go to C5 or perhaps E6. Oh no, actually E6. If Queen E6 is then knight G5.
So Queen E6. Oh,
it's actually knight G5. Yeah.
Knight G5. Yeah.
Queen H6.
Queen H6.
And then
no, because then you can rook takes knight.
And then Queen takes. Yeah, and this is Queen takes.
And then you can get both pawns, can't you?
Yeah, this is better for white now again. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So actually, queen, wherever it was, wasn't a good idea. What were we looking at there?
So I think Queen C5.
Queen C5. Yeah, Queen C5. Having said all that, I mean, now I know about this. I mean, it does mean that knight G5 is actually still a possibility.
Yeah, you could even do it now, couldn't you? But you were tempoed down on what we had.
You're tempoed down, but it might be a way of actually simplifying the position so white is no longer in any danger of being.
The other thing is, right? Couldn't we, like white, bring a rook in and try and do some checkmatey things?
Possibly. My feeling is that black's okay on the king's side apart from little shocks like knight G5. Like rook D4, maybe just H6.
H6. Yeah.
Or perhaps just rook E8 or something. I don't. What did you want to go? Did you want to go rook H4?
Well, only if the situation.
Yeah.
Right. Because, like, if we can get that knight to move out the way, then maybe.
Right. So also there's the possibility of going rook D1.
Just like rook D1 or some kind of
pressure the knight. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So rook D1, and then they go rook D8.
Yeah, but I must admit that pin is slightly annoying.
But then you might, I don't know, can you do
E4, that? Yeah, E4, absolutely E4, yeah. So I think maybe H6 was just a bit too loose. I mean, not a bit too casual. Because I don't think we need to worry about rook 8. We can go H6 if they go rook H4.
Yeah. So we can. Black can hold
we're looking
that.
at the move. We're looking at the move rook D4 here. So, I mean, what about? I mean, this position's definitely got shades of the Capablanca game, hasn't it? Where he wins with rook B2 at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. What about C3 here?
C3.
Yeah, that allows us to go knight B5, and I mean, yeah.
Then we might have to go back to plan A and go knight G5.
Yeah. Okay, knight G5. But then sort of queen G5 followed by rook G5 followed by rook B2.
A rook B2.
Yeah, that's not going to be worse. It's not going to be worse.
Yeah.
It could be better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Craig has played knight F3.
Yeah. After queen C5, I suspect he won't go rook D4.
No.
He might go knight G5 immediately.
Knight G5.
Yeah.
And then this is liquidating, would you say?
Takes and then rook takes D6. And I don't think the white's going to be worse here.
No.
And could possibly be better.
Okay.
Black doesn't have to necessarily take on G5. He could try something like G6, perhaps.
Right.
No, not here. Sorry, I meant instead of taking on G5, he could go G6.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible. Okay.
Interesting.
We'll see what happens.
Right. I've got to see Rakaya and Peter again.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are. This was our Lopez game, and
Rakaya so he was able to take on A2. He managed to get rid of the bishop.
So we had the D. We had it here. D5 takes
knight B4.
Okay, and so Rakaya played bishop C4.
Oh, okay, not bishop B3.
We were looking at bishop B3, weren't we? Yeah. Okay. And knight takes.
Yeah.
And then knight C3.
Yeah. Okay.
Bishop F6. Queen B3.
Ah, okay. So this is what Peter was aiming for. So even with the bishop on B3, this is how Peter was going to react.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to take on c3.
No. And so he's dropped back.
Mm.
And so that one's on praise, so you can't drop back.
Yeah, okay, so this is how this exchange happened. So knight f3 happened.
Knight f3. a5.
Yeah, to support the knight. And now the bishop. Yeah, there's no point in retreating the bishop now anyway, because bishop e6.
All right, so if that comes back that way, this way, and this queen.
Yeah, and white would probably be best.
Oh, yes, the queen can't.
Well, white could give up the exchange actually and get some compensation with rook takes e6. That's certainly possible, actually.
So that's probably what you do.
Yeah. But also, yeah, you definitely got compensation here because the light squares on the king. But also, black doesn't even necessarily have to play bishop e6. He could play bishop f5, for example, instead.
Yeah.
And it feels like black's this looks worrying.
The queen looks in a bit of trouble.
This looks very worrying for white. So in fact, yeah. So absolutely, best thing to do is actually allow black to take on.
You're threatening this one, aren't you?
You are threatening all sorts of things. Yeah, knight c2, c2.
Yes. Okay. So so bishop e3.
Yeah.
Good move. Takes and queen takes, and that's where they're at.
The only question is knight c2 is maybe not quite working here. Yeah.
Oh, can you do knight c2?
I think you can do it.
Oops.
But after rook d1, then the white.
Yeah. So you've got maybe I don't know which rook, but you can get out of the way. Oh, actually, probably not that.
I think the other rook. Yeah. Because you're not worried by knight takes e3, just take with the rook, and then your rook's even though it's two bishops against two knights, white's very. I mean, the queen is struggling. Yeah, to say the least. Yeah.
So it would have to go out to b6. That's the only
but then knight d5 is.
So this is quite nice for white.
This is quite nice.
But you don't have to go. Black shouldn't go in then for knight c2.
Oh, of course, this is the position at the moment. Yeah, so
this is the position at the moment.
Okay, so at the moment here, maybe bishop e6 is what Peter's thinking about.
Yeah.
Or even bishop f5. Yeah, one of those. I think he's probably deciding about where to put the bishop.
Where to put the bishop.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. We haven't seen yet Matthew Payne, Rich Pert.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Let's see this position. Oh.
It looks pretty good.
So, now material imbalance. So we have two pawns.
Yeah. This looks just good for black, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially because that knight on a3.
Oh, it doesn't really have any squares.
Obviously, black's got to somehow make progress, but.
Yes. But looking good for black. Okay.
Very good for black, yeah.
Let's go back now. Where did we?
I think there's a couple of games we didn't.
Yeah.
Did we look at Amit's game?
Let's look at Amit's game.
That's progressed a little bit, hasn't it?
Yes.
That was the line where black had the centre.
Yes. So we got. I can't remember.
It was like this sort of
weird. D4. Knight d4.
He did take on c4.
And he took on c4.
White's next move is interesting. Yeah, he was rather than actually just taking back, White just wants to keep attacking the centre.
The knight and wants pieces there. So c3 takes
and then
e3.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, white doesn't take, but instead puts knight c4. And so meat takes on f2, rook takes, and knight into g4. Rook f4. And then knight a6.
Yeah, black's, I guess, got to start developing the pieces, yeah? Because all the white's pieces are out in really nice positions.
Yeah. Knight b5.
Okay.
And takes. I suppose black doesn't really.
I think knight b5 is sensible just to break that pin.
Yeah.
It obviously gives black maybe a move or so to get sort of pieces into the game, but I think white's position feels a bit more comfortable now. The dark square bishop's off the board, and white's still got that lovely bishop on g2.
This one's nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's bringing the this knight round, so it could go maybe here or here later.
This is the position, yeah.
No, we've still got another couple of moves. So
Queen D6. Yeah.
Knight H6. Rook D1 and Knight E6. This is the position.
Oh, okay. So now we see why Knight H6 was played. It was so that the knight could go to E6 without the knight on G4 being on prise.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite low on time, actually. He's only got 5 minutes left.
It's not an easy position for black to play, actually. White's piece. There's so many possible moves that White's pieces can do. They're virtually all of White's pieces are very active. So black has to be careful.
Yeah.
So I guess White.
So White's got this. I suppose this. If I was just thinking, what happens if the queen exchange? Who's happy with the queen exchange?
So it's White's turn. White could exchange everything off on D8.
Yeah.
Which would mean the rook on F3 is not on prise, and then just try and stick a knight on D6, for example.
Yeah, and try and win this. This one's defending that. So
yeah, it's just sort of it's just nuisance.
But it's all a bit
on
the back rank at the moment. Yeah.
The other option for White is actually just to retreat the rook, leave that tension, because of course if black takes on D6, you'd still then go knight takes D6. So it's kind of a tricky choice for White, but they both look as though they have some promise. Feels like that White's activity is worth more than black's sort of slight structural advantage because White's weak e-pawn. I mean, I think I prefer White here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And let's see. Gasanov against Declan.
This was the Grunfeld, wasn't it? The funny Grunfeld line.
Yeah, the one with the very early knight h5.
Yeah. So
exactly where we got up.
If we go up to that position after d takes e5, knight c6.
Knight c6, yes.
And then queen d2 happened. We were considering rook e8 in this position, weren't we?
Oh, we were, yeah.
And then if a3, bishop f8, but I mean, black would have to consider White playing f4, holding on to the pawn. So it's not an easy decision by black. But instead, he took the knight. Sorry, he took the pawn on e5, and then this move a3.
A3 did happen, yes.
We thought this was a good moment to play it, basically.
Yeah,
it did take.
And queen f6.
Queen f6, okay. And then castles, and then d6. So black's trying to keep some sort of grip, stopping White playing f4. It looks a bit loose for black, though, playing without this dark squared bishop, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, knight e2.
Yeah.
a6. Trying to go b5.
Maybe trying for b5, yeah.
h4.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess...
Bishop g5 and also maybe possibly g4.
G4.
As well, yeah. Okay.
Looks like White could generate an attack pretty quickly.
Yeah, or I don't even think that White's necessarily too... I mean, White could get an attack, but even if the queens get exchanged, I think White's very happy with this just like long-term advantage of having this dark square bishop with no opponent. And also black's playing the move g6. So I think black has to... Well, we'll see what happens. Bishop e6. So that's counterplay against c4. Bishop g5.
Okay, and here it comes g4.
G4, knight f6. And
then knight f6.
Then knight d4 defends the pawn, doesn't it?
Yeah, so this bishop's now defending.
Yeah.
Knight fd7. And now the calm king d1. Getting out of the way.
Just tidying up. But basically, White's satisfied with his sort of long-term advantage, so now he's not going to do anything too quickly.
c5. And takes.
Okay. Takes. Yeah, I quite like this idea. See, I mean, that's going for some counterplay down the f-file, isn't it?
Yeah. So Declan's keeping an eye on this pawn.
Yeah, okay.
And would take it, given the opportunity, I'm sure.
Yeah.
f4.
Yeah, that's interesting. So White could have gone bishop e2 there, and then there's still pressure on against d6. but he's decided to go.
Oh, so bishop e2 here.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Is there knight takes? Sorry, I missed some. There's a tactic. Knight takes f3 is actually possible here.
So knight takes f3.
Yeah. Because
because if you take, no,
if you take on, basically the queen's going to be exchanged, so the knight.
Yeah, you're going to. Yeah.
So, for example, queen takes g7, king takes g7, and then rook takes d6, and then maybe black goes knight d5.
This one, knight e5.
Yeah, and this isn't completely clear. Yeah, this is black's got some counterplay now actually with those knights.
Yeah.
White, I mean, perhaps white's still better actually, but even so, that was his idea. So f4.
Okay, and so then knight takes g4.
Yeah,
he's got
now the queen. Yeah, I think this is just a more favourable version for white than what we were just looking at.
Oh, yeah, because he gets this one back and he's stuck in the knight. Yeah.
Yeah, and the knights don't have access to e5.
So rook f7. Oh, okay, because this pawn was there in our previous line, and now it's here.
Exactly. And now bishop h3 is what he's played.
So this looks quite.
Yeah, it does look promising. If black goes knight f2, then I'm assuming bishop takes e6, knight takes h1, bishop takes f7 is just going to be very good for white. Probably winning.
Yeah, because if king takes, rook takes.
And white's going to be a couple of pawns up, and h1's a terrible piece as well. So I suspect after bishop h3, maybe black has to play the move h5. I'm struggling to see any other options for black here. That doesn't look great either, of course.
What h6?
H6, I think I'd probably just take on g4 and then take on e6. I think that just wins.
Yeah, so h5.
But now white could consider, for example, simply just taking that off. And then, I mean, we don't have to take it off, but then just taking on e6 or even, taking on e6. This just looks very good for white, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the whole thing looks good for white, actually, at the moment.
Yeah, this one's looking good for white. Declan in a bit of trouble. Okay, let's see. Matthew Turner and Steve Dishman.
Okay, so this game, they've played a lot of moves on this game, haven't they? Or rather, it feels like they're quite way into the game, aren't they?
They are, and Matthew's quite ahead on the clock. Sorry, someone's just knocking. You carry on for a minute. I'm just going to check this door.
Okay. So would f4 has just been played, attacking the knight. So probably, I'm thinking here, is knight f3 the only move or something? I think knight f3. I think we have to play knight f3 here. Oh, knight. Yeah, he has played knight. He's actually just played knight f3.
He's played knight. He did it. You commanded it, and he did it.
Yeah. Actually, I just realised knight g6 was also possible. So this. Okay. So white has to make a decision here. Do we go king c5? And he's
king d3.
King d3. Yeah. Think about king c5. It does obviously move the king towards the c pawn, but it also gives black counterplay based on rook a3. At some moment, not necessarily straight away, but even king e4, even king e4, and the bishop is actually struggling for squares.
Yeah.
Although that would allow white's got rook e7 check, so the game is quite complicated still. But king d3 keeps maybe a bit more control, and if rook a3, king e2, and the knight is actually the knight.
Oh, where's it going? So here.
Yeah. It might well be the rook a3 is not a particularly good move.
Yeah.
Because now you have to do something with the knight and
then this rook can take on f7 perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. No, this is not what black should do. I think rook a3 is not a good move there. So what does black do? Maybe the position's tricky for black.
You probably do have to defend this pawn, right?
Maybe it's something like king g6.
Yeah. Yes. So then.
Yeah, then maybe king e4. Knights are tricky pieces, but yeah.
This one doesn't have so many squares because
No.
it's only really got one, hasn't it?
Well, h2 or g1, e1. I mean, maybe knight e1 is actually okay because it's ready to come out to d3. Or black might play f5, but white could play f5 check here. Isn't that a big problem actually?
Yeah.
And then bishop d4.
Here.
And then just take on
Only
g.
move.
Yeah, and then take on f7. This
is curtains.
Yeah, it's game over that. So okay, is there some slight issues for not slight, maybe big issues for black to solve in this position after king d3?
Yeah.
The knight is just lacking squares, isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like black has got to do something. So yeah, I think black's probably going to have to let that pawn go on f7.
Maybe you could give up the.
I mean, maybe. I was looking at knight e1 followed by knight e1, king e2.
Oh, knight e1's happened actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So king e2.
King e2.
And then knight c2.
Okay.
And basically, black's going to try and get salvation and a rook and pawn ending, perhaps.
So yeah. So white. Let's say white does take.
Yeah. Okay.
Then.
So from the king e4, white just goes rook back to e7, check, and then the king has to move back again. So I'm thinking more about basically playing king g6. King
g6.
Which does actually at least allow us to swap our knight off for the bishop.
Yeah.
And then after rook c7, let's say, for example. I think that in this position, unless rook a2 actually works, I don't really see it working. I don't really see what I don't actually see what the threat is. I mean, I think while just go rook takes. I think while just go rook takes c6 and then move the rook to a safe square, and I don't see that black's got a good discovered check. So I think that black should just take on e3.
Take, and
then could we play
maybe rook a3?
Rook a3, yeah. Rook a3. And if the king moves forward, we'll just take on g3 with calculation. If the king goes to f2, could we actually just keep checking?
Check again?
Check again. And if the king has to go to the back rank to make any progress now, yeah? So king e1.
Gosh, and how's this? So...
Yeah, I don't know.
Hiya, yeah, come in. Hello. Come in. We have Rakaya and Peter. Right.
Okay.
Sit in the middle. Come here. Sit in the middle. In fact, yeah, I'll stay on. I'm just going to bring this right over here, and let's see if we can see everybody. So here we go. Now we don't see
I'm sure
Peter
if people don't see me, they'll be very relaxed about that.
maybe I'll nip off and you guys take it.
No, don't nip off.
Okay, I'll stay. I'm staying.
Yes.
You need to come over a little bit more then. So stand up a moment, Peter, just for a second. I'll bring this right. Okay, if you'll sort of come in this way a bit,
Peter. I wasn't actually joking. I'm sure people will be happy. They can just hear my voice.
Right. So, Rakaya, I'm going to show where you are. Where are you? There you are. I see you. There you are. You're still playing, though. What are you doing here if you're still playing?
That was careless of us.
Right. Okay. Here we go. Fine. Shall I control the mouse here?
You
Yes,
could, yeah.
yes.
I don't know where to start talking. I mean,
Okay.
I spent a lot of time deciding on my first move. I didn't do it at the board.
I mean, I was half expecting a Sicilian 4
I was half
knights.
expecting a Sicilian too, but I played so badly against Mickey. It's sort of put me off the Sicilian foot as well.
Yeah.
Just gonna...
I mean, at this point, I kind of forgot all my theory because I haven't really played against the knight f6, bishop e7 line.
Yeah, but you see, I didn't have the benefit of knowing you'd forgotten all your theory. So when you went h3 and d4, I wasn't sure if it might be
try and
something
get
you
you
knew.
on.
Okay,
no,
so
what
anyway, I
bishop?
think John will know all about this anyway. So.
Well,
I've
yeah,
gotten-
Natasha and I we were actually discussing it a little bit, the position, weren't we?
Right,
We
so
were.
where did you get?
Not
to?
this position. We discussed it slightly.
No, you don't have to discuss it.
We were
Okay,
just
let's do it.
we were discussing the position after knight c6 a little bit on move, not on move 2, on move on move 9.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, I was going to say move 2. That's that would have
Yeah, what?
been a pleasant surprise.
You never did that.
Um,
Here we go.
Yeah.
This one, yes. We would.
Well, yeah. I haven't
C5.
really settled on a system against bishop c4, but I've tried a few things.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we were discussing with the sort of the parallels between your game and Mickey's game, where Rakaya went for a very early d4, whereas Mickey kind of just manoeuvred his pieces around a little bit because it's a very, very similar sort of position.
Black also has b5 in that position, right?
It was that game was a Roy Lopez, yeah. So
Yeah, exactly. So black has b5 is a little, but yeah, you're right.
yeah, I mean, basically, yeah. So it's always an interesting decision to make whether whether to go for d4 or just go knight d2.
No, indeed.
And yeah,
Because Mickey was doing things, or the other thing we talked about was this. This was like an alternative
Yeah.
plan.
yeah, and we were wondering actually, because what did Rakaya play? Oh, let's put the knight on c6.
Yeah, I
actually.
put my knight. Otherwise, she goes b4. I don't want to
Yeah.
do that.
And we were wondering if Rakaya just went h3 or knight d2. We were wondering what let's say after knight d2, we were wondering whether Peter was going to play bishop e6 and challenge the bishop, whether that's his.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I suspect I might play. The fact that I went h6 indicates I probably wanted to go rook e8, bishop f8, and d5 kind of.
Yeah.
plan. By the way, the main thing these days is knight a3 and bishop d2, right? Which I sort of.
Okay, yeah, obviously, yeah. So, okay, so you know more about this than knight a3, bishop d2, and b4. Yeah, is that the idea?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know about this.
yeah, I've seen a few games, but I
Yeah,
haven't
okay.
really done.
No, I mean
Oops,
that's what I hope.
yeah.
That you wouldn't have studied it in depth.
So that and b4 here, like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean with h3, obviously, otherwise bishop g4 will be a bit annoying. at
Right.
some
So we've
point.
got
But
h3.
yeah, h3 seemed to fit with all plans, so I wasn't sure what to play, but h6 seemed reasonable. I want to go rook e8.
And then d4 for white.
And people even sometimes play h6 and bishop e6 these days. They don't get worked up about the g6.
Oh, and you
square.
still just take it.
Well,
you take it off and.
when we were young, we would have said the g6 square mattered, but now probably stopping knight g5 matters just as much. So I don't know.
I mean, what's
And
he going to do with the g6 square?
Well, exactly. We used to get very worked up about how things looked, but now
Okay.
working with the engine, you understand that if you can't exploit it directly, then you shouldn't get worked up about it. But it took us years to come up with.
Yeah. And we never would have really.
No. Well, we might have done. Anyway, d4 is super direct, and I was a bit. Do you know this, John?
I don't
Because
really
I
know
was
this
sitting there
line.
thinking if this was John Emms, he'd know what to do. But
I don't really know this. I don't actually know this line particularly well with the line with rook e1 and a4 because I don't really play it for either sides.
Okay.
I mean, to me, it kind of just seemed like that bishop e6 in general. Obviously, it's too late for bishop e6 now, but just in general, bishop e6 looks like a natural way, just judging on how black often responds to the Lopez lines where white keeps the bishop.
No,
on
indeed. I mean,
h8.
bishop e6. I don't know. I think bishop e6.
But I mean, this is
what I should have done, but I felt like it takes some of the tension out somehow. And
sure. No, I mean, this is if, for example, if white plays the move knight d2 instead of d4, I feel like bishop e6.
Yeah, it's certainly on my radar then for
Yeah,
sure.
because I mean, obviously black could go rook e8. Obviously, if black could go rook e8 and bishop f8, but I'm just feeling those positions being slightly more comfortable for white. If white just does normal knight d2, knight f1, and then even knight g3. Because I still feel a bit nervous playing d5 for black there, unless you.
Yeah, I think that's almost exactly a position where the engine wanted to go d5, but that doesn't mean it's right, of course.
Oh, okay.
But I did briefly look at something like that.
I suppose
I
what
mean, the
also,
problem with my preparation was I mainly looked at the Sicilian.
I mean,
okay, yeah, fair enough. But also,
But that's just one of those things.
I guess what Black could do though, is Black could go Rook E8, Bishop F8, and then Bishop E6 anyway, and then take
Yeah,
with the Rook. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
super,
but that's super solid. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah.
But Ricardo was saying, or you, Ricardo, saying that Knight A3 is main line these days, or certainly another line.
Well, it certainly was. I think it still is.
Okay, that's a nice, interesting way of playing it, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a plan.
Yeah.
But D4 directly, I was I wasn't exactly surprised because after I played H6, I was thinking, what do I do if she plays D4 directly? But it's very interesting.
Yeah, because we're looking at this quite a bit as well.
Yeah, we actually liked the way you did it with D5 because if you just play slowly here, White's going to go Knight C3 and get the bishop out, and it feels very nice.
I mean, I'm wondering if I did almost everything right up to Queen D3 actually. And I just blundered. But D5, but I was worried about bishop takes.
Okay, we didn't even
think about that.
Yeah, I was mainly worried about bishop takes. And I wanted to go takes, knight b4, knight c3, bishop f6.
Oh, I can
and then
see.
I'm sitting there thinking, if Ricardo plays bishop e3, now if I take on d5, then something like takes knight b5, and I couldn't sort of imagine a world in which I would be seriously playing for a win.
It's a bit symmetrical.
Well, I mean, it has that not going for it anyway. But this, I specifically wasn't sure what to play here. I mean, I was just.
Are you saying you're uncomfortable in this position, or you just don't think that Black's got any winning chances?
It's quite possible that I'm saying both, which is obviously the most depressing scenario.
Yeah.
I think if I go bishop e6, I probably will. Well, I don't know. Actually, knight c7 immediately is a bit annoying.
That might be a little bit better for White. Knight c7.
Yeah, this could all be a little bit better for White. In which case,
or you can just take on d5 and then go knight c7.
Well, yeah, but then I play rook d8, and then when I take, it's also actually no, I wasn't happy with either of those. So I was starting to think if I could do something differently in the middle of that, but that was what worried me anyway.
Again, it's quite interesting that taking on d5 with the bishop does solve the problem that knight b4 no longer attacks the bishop. Actually,
well, it does. Yeah, no, I think it's. I was really quite worried. I started to take it seriously, kind of, when I'd already spent too long on d5 to do something else, and I wasn't sure what my other plan was. I'd always intended to go d5, really. But bishop takes is very interesting. I think. Yeah.
Okay. So we have pawn takes knight here.
No, bishop. You need to get rid of that bishop. Oh, sorry, we're doing the game.
We're doing the game now. I moved back.
Okay. So here I was much
we were
happier.
talking about bishop b.
Yeah, we
I expected, but I wasn't.
Yeah, we were kind of looking at
leaving the b3 square for, like, I don't know, there might be some variation when my queen goes there.
Well, you did play it there.
Yeah.
So you were right.
Yeah, we were kind of looking at bishop b3, or well, we didn't actually even.
Or knight c3, didn't we? We talked about this one as well.
Knight c3, I take on a2 and d5, and I thought in this one I'm not in any way.
Yeah,
I didn't think. Well, I think if anyone has a touch of pressure here, it's me.
Yeah, the tactics work for you.
No, I don't suppose you did, which is why you didn't play bishop takes d5.
Now, initially we thought that White was going to have a good position after bishop b3 and then knight c3 or bishop c4, either one. But we basically we were always taking on c3 for you, which you didn't.
No, I think I was just going to play knight f takes, knight c3, bishop f6, a bit like the game, and
yeah, exactly, yeah.
And the game continues.
That's quite a good idea for Black. We were looking at knight takes c3, which.
That turned out well for White.
We were looking.
Knight takes d3 I didn't like at all. Then I think if it's obvious to me that if anyone has an initiative.
No, sorry. Actually, we were looking at the lines where Black recaptured on d5 with the other knight.
Yes, that too. I wasn't.
Yeah, and then knight c3, and then knight takes, pawn takes, and even though we thought that bishop on b3 is such a good piece.
Yeah, I think White has a little initiative here. This is I was trying to avoid this kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think it's really good to take on c3.
No,
I was not. No, exactly. Oh gosh. Okay.
Knight takes.
Oh, so the computer doesn't mind the move I thought was a. Oh, it does. It minds slightly the move I thought was a blunder, but not that much.
Not much.
Okay, so knight c3, obviously good.
Bishop f6.
Did you approve of this around here, John? This is okay.
Well, we then came back to position a little bit later, and obviously Queen B3 looks absolutely natural, doesn't it? And
Well, it does, although you need to see that you have some moves after knight b6. But yes, it does look natural.
yeah, we obviously we weren't looking as deeply as you two were.
Well, I don't know. Possibly
we
you were.
were flicking between a lot of games.
Yeah, we were looking at about 20 games, but yeah. Let's put it this way: if it, Queen, sort of Queen B3 justifies putting the bishop on C4.
Yes, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually thought I might be fractionally better here, but this is clearly a misevaluation. What was I worried about? I was nonetheless worried about things. I was slightly worried about just queen takes b4, actually. Is that...
Wait, but then you just take my knight with the queen.
Yeah, and then rook e4. I wasn't so sure how that is. It took me a while to see rook e4. But when I saw it, then I wasn't so happy anymore.
So here, here, here.
Yep.
Queen has to move. Backwards, probably.
Queen does have to move. Forwards looks out of the question. Doesn't really have a range of enticing squares, does she? Maybe I think I should maybe just take on c4 after
yeah, probably.
after this.
Right, what knight?
But then again, white's going to have, maybe this is why it's plus 0.3, because this is a lot better for white. I had thought queen takes d4 was going to be a good move. And then when I saw rook e4, I thought, yeah, this is just not my day. Things are not working that should be working. The white's fine there, that's for sure. And I think I thought I was fractionally better. Oh, no, I think I also thought that after queen takes b4, I could maybe play bishop takes d4, which might have the benefit of surprise value as well. Although,
here.
yeah, probably it's a pleasant surprise. I don't know.
I'm not sure
what are you playing? What are you playing?
What about rook t1?
Yeah.
Rook d1.
Oh, you got
I was hoping I had bishop takes
bishop
f2 and queen h4 check then, or something like that.
Or even bishop takes c3.
Or even well, if you go rook d1 now, maybe
Yeah,
bishop takes c3. Yeah, let's.
Yeah.
Although actually, there might be bishop takes f7 check in that position, but it's all getting a bit silly. And the bishop, when it takes the queen, covers the rook on f8, so it's all probably all silly. Actually, that's really interesting. Rook d1.
Yeah.
Let me just check that.
Yeah.
Bishop takes c3.
Yeah.
I'm hallucinating in public, I think.
Because if that, you have to take with the king, right?
Yeah.
Oh, can you? Oh, you can do that.
Do you have to, don't
heavens. You? Yeah. Okay. No, it's all nonsense. Okay, so, but anyway, it was a bit of a shock when I saw rook e4 because obviously the line I'd intended wasn't happening. So
yeah.
But I was pleased to see knight f3 because I thought I should be a bit better now. But apparently I'm not.
Computer doesn't
No,
agree.
well, the computer does after a5. Then I think Rukai has to play quite accurately. So I think it's probably true to say that black is practically a little better.
Yeah.
But
yes. Oh, because we liked bishop e3.
Yeah, I liked bishop e3. I mean, I liked it from
because we looked at something else, didn't
we?
We looked at something else and white got into a bit of trouble. What did we look at, John?
No, I think we were looking at bishop e3 here. But it's just, I think it's the next move. Or a couple of moves later, we were looking at something for white.
I think this is just a very good move after which white is. Well, I thought white was fine, but I ought to be able to find a way to be fractionally better. So takes, and here is queen d3. I was very unhappy with, but it seems, according to the engine, I have nothing to be that excited about anyway. But what can I do? This is the moment I want to know what to do. Bishop e6.
Because you can't do these forks or anything.
I can't. What if I do a fork?
It didn't work.
Then I just go rook e1.
She plays rook ad1 and takes on e3 with the rook, and that's a tremendous initiative for the bishop there, I thought.
Yeah, we looked at that, didn't we?
I was terrified of these open files in various positions.
Oh, actually, sorry, Natasha, you're right. We did look at something else a bit earlier. We were looking at actually keeping the bishop.
But then we came to the conclusion bishop e3. I'm sure we came to the conclusion.
We're looking at bishop f1, and we just we briefly looked at bishop e6. We briefly looked at bishop e6, rook takes e6, but then we just
no, I saw that, but I thought bishop f5 would
bishop
be a good
f5
move.
is horrible for white.
F5 we looked at, and then there was things like this coming.
No, I was going to go bishop f5, and assuming for the first time I have a really good
you
position.
didn't want that.
I mean, after I saw bishop f5, I kind of ditched the entire variation.
No, I did also
Quite
see
right.
bishop e6, rook takes e6, but that was unfortunately not the enough of an idea to induce Rukai to go bishop f1. So,
So here, takes, and queen
so is
d3.
bishop e6 or bishop f5 or something what the engine wants to do to?
Shall I just cheat?
Yeah, please cheat.
Oh, knight c2. Oh, I thought we didn't
No,
like knight
Oh,
because after
c2.
then-
knight c2, then you just take. It's because after rook ad1, you take the rook. So I was thinking about rook ed1.
Oh, sorry. After rook ad1, oh my gosh.
So here,
That's me hallucinating. I'd already planned that and then forgotten. I've done that twice in a month
Takes.
now. That's horrific.
takes.
Oh wow. Mind you, I'm not sure this position's so clear. I
Computer's
literally
going very slow.
Still got some initiative, but I would have done this
Yeah.
if I'd not got confused at the last minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. We've
Rook
got the
d8.
next lot of people.
Yes.
Okay.
Next victims.
Next
arrive.
victims.
No.
Hello. Hi. Good. Hi. Come in. You can say hi on the stream if you want to. No, you're right. Okay.
Rook d8, knight d5. Am I? You know, I would love to have, because I sort of saw this and then forgot that I was intending it, and then I needed to decide if I was intending it.
It wants to go rook
But
a6.
from a position of strength, like.
It wants to go rook a6 after knight d5.
But knight d5 after rook takes d8. I mean,
Where
you
are
can
we?
play,
Where are
what
we?
do I do then? Because you're threatening.
Here.
No. After in this position we got after knight takes g takes, I have to take on d8 probably with the rook, and then knight d5 worries me.
And then I think it wants to go rook a6.
That's a move where if I'd seen that, I might have done the whole thing.
Is it rook a6 or rook d6?
Rook d6 is
Rook
looking like.
d6. I was assuming I had knight c7 and bishop a7.
Computer's
sorry,
saying rook d6.
I had. Then there's knight c7, bishop e6.
Knight c7, bishop e6.
Is that right?
Bishop e6.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't really like this variation.
No, but I mean,
because
if
of
if I can't play, if I don't have moves like bishop e6, you probably should like it because I'm, in some trouble. How keen? I mean, after knight e6, rook e6, queen b5. Am I feeling terrible that I didn't play this when I had already consumed quite a lot of time? I'm not sure I am.
Maybe instead of rook ad1, you should probably go rook ed1.
I don't think so, because then I think I have a small
Let's see. So here,
safe edge, and it was this
ed1.
sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, if I can take on e3, why am I
take on
not a bit
E3.
happy?
Yeah, and
then
you
I
have
go,
to
and then I go
recapture.
So you thought your initiative was fine here, yeah?
Yeah.
Bishop e6.
Is the move I wanted to play.
Ah.
Queen b5.
So everyone's leaving all their queens on freeze all the time.
Yeah, it happens a lot these days.
Yeah.
It's the engines to play. Queen b5, queen c7. I mean, I would have played this. I think.
And I guess this is.
Yeah, no, I would play this. I think the other is much more critical.
Yeah, I should probably go knight d4 here, shouldn't I?
That is, well, if I can't go, I go.
Oh no, but then you have bishop g5.
Yes.
Trying to gang up on here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this position's kind of safe for black, but also slightly better as well. It's kind of, I can understand, Pete. You'd want to play this when you was black, Peter.
I think the other, but I think the other line's much more practical for white actually.
Yeah, or at least a line that you would maybe not want to play as black unless you saw really deeply into it, because it is critical.
Well, I did sort of see a bit, and then I think I got to about knight d5 and felt a bit unsure, and then I was going to revisit it, and then I forgot that I was revisiting it. I think so.
Yeah,
I'm not. Some games you end up thinking, "Oh, well, I really should have done this." I'm not sure I have that feeling about this position.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So we went like this,
So we went
and
like
then we're
this,
just going to
and then-
see the end because we didn't see it.
Yeah.
Take.
And now, actually, I think we should take c3 is probably forced, yeah, because otherwise knight d5 or knight e4 is really annoying. So
Yeah.
I think I have to do this, and I think I have to go rook e8. I mean, I felt from having been slightly better, I now had to make only moves in order to be equal, which is always a bit annoying.
Yeah. Rook d2. Bishop f5.
Yeah.
Knight d4. Nice square. Bishop g6. Knight b5.
I mean, I thought if I really, really wanted just to make a draw, then there was a way to exchange everything off as well. But this is also, I mean, well, as you said, you thought you might be fractionally better here. I think black's fine, but it's no fun to do any more than agree a draw with, I don't think.
Yeah, I could probably go like a bishop d4 and knight d6, but yeah.
Well, yes, okay. But if I can go knight c5 and rook c6 or something.
I mean, I couldn't really see any clear
I
way
suspect
for
then
me
you
to
can
get
take
it.
on a5 and I get to take on a4 and everybody's
Still a draw.
happy or not. And it's still a draw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you both very much for coming and showing your game. And nice draw.
Thank
Good
you.
game. And
Yeah.
thank you for your analysis.
Pleasure. Okay.
And
Thanks, John.
Rakaya,
Thanks,
nice
Tash.
tournament.
Thank
I
you.
have to say. Yes. Good luck. Good luck, both of you, for the rest of the games.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello. Joanne, come in. Thank you for coming and showing your game. Yes, come in, both of you. I'm gonna just sit off the stream, and you two can take it away. Let me just this. You've got Grandmaster John Emms. Do you know John?
Hi.
Oh, right, Turan. So I'm going. Which board? Do you remember which board you were on?
22.
22. Thank you both very much for coming in. Here we go. Let me just get. There we are. Yes, it is. It is. It's all there. Let's get you back to the start. Okay. Do you guys prefer to do the moves yourselves, or shall I just keep going with the?
I don't know.
I can keep going. I'll keep going. Okay, fine. We have a Sicilian defense here.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Did this game go kind of in line with your preparations, either of you, or
So
completely different? Or?
I looked at this G4 move on move 6 this morning, and so it seemed to be pretty good. So I went in line with my prep up until I think Queen C7.
Okay. And have you played this before, Andrew? G4?
Not against this line. I don't see this combination of knight C6, D6, and E6 that often.
Okay. And is this you normally play this, or you?
Yes.
Yes.
I normally play
I mean, for-
E6, knight C6, then D6.
For contrast, I play Scheveningen as black, but with knight F6.
I see. Yeah.
So I face the Kara's attack,
Yes.
but this is slightly different.
Yes.
Yeah, this sorry to interrupt, but this
on.
obviously G4 is such a natural move against knight F6 to Scheveningen, and it took quite a long time for people to realise that white can sort of play G4 even when the knight is back on G8.
Yeah.
So I believe I remember. I think this is. I think Karpov played this move G4 against Kasparov, perhaps in one of their World Championship matches.
Did he in this position?
Yeah, I think it was very new at that stage.
I didn't realize it was.
But now people are playing G4 against even for example against if black plays A6 for example instead of D6 like the Taimanov. In G4 is a move there as well.
Still go G4.
Yeah, or even against Queen C7, I think it's a move. I think it's literally a move nearly every.
Play against anything.
Anything. Maybe not against the Sveshnikov, perhaps, but but yeah, nearly every sort of E6 D6 line for the Sicilian G4 is.
And have you faced it before? Has anyone done it against you?
No, actually.
No.
Yeah.
First time. Okay.
I wasn't prepared.
And do you find it scary when someone pushes a G pawn against you, or do you actually quite like it because you've got something to attack back against?
It was a little bit scary because of unknown, like I didn't know like how to proceed like properly without being attacked.
Yeah.
I've played many games as black in the Kara's attack, and it still scares me every time.
Scares you each time. Okay, so bishop b3 and rook g1, getting behind the g pawn. G5.
The lines I'd looked at, black played H6 there, I think, rather than Queen C7.
Okay, so you're on your own from this point.
Yes. So I assumed that G5 had to be the correct move, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering whether black can sort of. Obviously, there's lots of things that black can do, but I was wondering whether black can kind of play knight e7 lines. Not with queen c7, but a couple of moves ago, maybe knight e7.
instead of bishop
Yeah,
e7.
that's the
Yeah,
most
and then sort of,
common
and
setup.
then maybe take on d4 and reroute the knight to the other knight to c6.
So the line, if you play knight g7, I will play knight b3 to prevent that.
Just yes, of course, yeah, knight b3, yeah. And does black play a6 before playing knight e7, or just?
Oh, do you want to do it even one move earlier?
Yeah, or is the move knight b5 a problem now?
I think they play a6 first.
They do play
Okay.
maybe just to discourage knight db5, perhaps. Yeah. Okay, so that is a way for black to play then, I guess. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, 95. Queen e2. So you're obviously going to go castle queen side, and then black. Did you, Taryn? Did you have an idea of where you're going to put your king already, or are you kind of await developments?
Yeah, at this point, I lost my hope for castling.
Oh, you're just going to leave the king in the middle
Yes,
and
I was
see
like,
what
it's-
happens.
It
Yeah,
should stay there.
yeah,
And I tried like to have some attack in the queen side
yeah.
instead, and keep the king in the center.
Ah, yeah. Okay, so b5, and you're bringing your knight in. f4. This is going to be a violent game, I can see
I
already.
wasn't sure about f4. I was wondering whether I should be trying to slow down the b pawn somehow. But I thought after castle's queenside and then b4, my knight didn't have any nice squares, so I felt I had to do something.
Yeah. So if you'd castled here, b4, you'd have to go back probably, or either a4 or back to b1 or
I
something.
thought after knight a4, bishop d7 was very annoying, and I wasn't sure about. Well, it's hard to like knight b1, even if it may be the correct move.
Yeah.
I mean, I did wonder if knight a4, bishop d7, knight b6 was playable, just the piece sack and, attack. But
I was thinking about that. Yeah.
Oh, what, knight come in here and just give
Yeah.
it up?
Yeah, and then bishop takes
Wow.
knight takes e6 and knight takes g7 check.
Wow.
well, computer likes f4 first, which gives some
Okay.
options,
Oh, okay.
just while the knight doesn't have nice
Ah,
swing.
yeah, okay. I guess black could consider just moving the queen.
Yeah.
To b7 or somewhere, yeah.
What's it?
Or a5, actually, either one. The thing is, I guess white's always going to be doing fairly well, even being a pawn down, because the black's still got to solve the problem of the knight on g8.
Mm.
Sure.
That was my hope, certainly.
Yeah.
Even if I messed it up. Black was
Disregarding anything else that's happening on any side of the board, basically, I think that's always going to give white a nice position, that knight on g8.
This knight here and just
Yeah.
the rook.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, black can fight back to some extent, but it's always going to be tricky.
Yes. Okay, so you went f4
Yeah.
and you brought in your knight and castles.
In my preparation, I'd seen this idea of having queen on e2, bishop on f1, attacking the knight on c4, so preventing black playing b4.
I see. So you're just stopping this one happening because then this is on freeze.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, so you just leave them there forever and ever until something happens. Okay.
So that was why
So
I was
you
going
went
for
up
the
for that. You just want us to take this off and
Yeah.
yeah.
If black doesn't take on e3, is white possibly threatening knight takes b5? And so, for
Yeah,
example,
I
if
think
bishop
it's a
b7,
problem.
is knight takes b5 a possibility?
So like this one or the other.
Yeah, just take twice and then go queen takes c4.
And then queen c4, yeah.
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 Yeah,
That
after
would-
castling, yeah. Before castling, it didn't work because of queen a5 check. But
Yes, but yeah, true. Yeah, but white's actually maybe threatening that now. Yeah.
I was thinking that bishop d7 was the alternative.
Ah,
to-
bishop d7.
So that kind of.
Yeah.
So I wasn't
So
really
here.
thinking about knight takes b5 because I wasn't thinking it was going to be an option.
Because now so if it takes twice, you go bishop takes and defend. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you took, and b4 coming in. Oops.
Oop.
What happened there? I went
No.
3 moves ahead.
Bishop d7 first.
Oh, sorry. I'm
Move 13.
clicking on the wrong things. Yeah, apologies.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, here maybe I should have played b4 first.
Ah, maybe you can.
Then bishop d7.
Yeah. So if
Sorry.
you go b4, you move this
Here
knight.
I've got the e2 square at
Yes.
least.
I see.
My queen is no longer blocking that square.
And now bishop d7.
Yeah. And you did it the other way round. Does it make much difference? So
Now after bishop d7, now there is a3.
okay,
letting
slowing down
b4,
before. Yeah. Okay. And you came in.
This is when I started to doubt whether my moves were correct. Because I really didn't want the trade of queens.
Yeah. Okay. So queen g3. Engine still likes it.
Yeah, I mean, bishop h3 was the move I considered to prevent e5 ideas, because then you have takes on d7 and f takes e5, and black can't take with the pawn.
That was bishop. That was bishop e3 and bishop h3 instead of queen g3. You mean, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I felt that in all of those lines, I still needed to deal with the pin on the knight at some point. So I thought,
Yes.
might as well deal with it now. Also, in some lines, I wanted the bishop on the f1, a6 diagonal.
Yes, that's true. And also, maybe in some lines, you also want to play h4 as well, perhaps.
That one I was less concerned about. But yeah, it's certainly something.
So queen g3. And b4.
Yeah, I played b4 here.
Get it in. Ah. So you just ignored it. You went knight
b3.
b3,
Knight b3.
hitting the queen.
I thought
Yes.
I wanted the knight on b3 to block the b file.
Yeah.
I didn't. I thought taking direct was actually a little risky, because with rook b8 coming and.
Right. Yes. So yeah, you just get your knight to there, and then you carry on taking here. Takes. Rook d4.
I mean, the computer likes the classic f5 kind of moves, but I was very concerned if I ended up, instead of rook d4, if I play f5 and then is met with a5, I was concerned about.
Okay, f5. And a5. The computer doesn't mind it too much and is interested in. Oh, this is knight b5. Isn't that just on freeze?
I did not see knight b5. Oh, the idea is the queen is trapped. The queen is trapped.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
So knight b5 takes.
And then
And just
d4.
Rook
d4.
d4 and that's
Yeah,
the
you have to play bishop. You have to play bishop c4, don't you? But that's not ideal.
Yeah, no, that's
That's a nice idea, isn't it?
well, I did not see that at all.
No, it's not. Not surprised. That's a funny move.
Yeah, or else it likes taking on e6. Oh, but
It's
with the
still-
same
it's
idea,
still knight
same
b5,
idea. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
without this knight b5 idea, it's less clear.
Yeah. Okay. And so you did rook d4.
I took the view that I didn't need to push too hard on the king side, because I still had the positional advantage of the rook and knight being stuck. So if I just was active, I should still have an edge.
Queen b6. Knight A4. It was wanting a bishop E2 line.
Yeah, the knight ends up a little misplaced on A4.
Okay.
Were you still slightly concerned by A5, A4? Is that why you played knight A4?
Yeah. I mean, if I was given that I played bishop E2 on the next move, I really should have played it bishop E2 first.
Sure.
Just because, you know,
Okay, and then this comes
A5,
in.
A4 cannot be played in one move.
True, true.
So, and you can see that after A5, knight A4 is what the computer's response. So the idea
Yes.
was good, but the order was wrong.
Okay, so knight A4, queen A7, and bishop E2. Oh, it doesn't like your move.
Blunder.
E5. Looks
Bishop D8
sensible,
was-
doesn't it? Bishop D8 it wants.
Well, E5 is critical, but I felt that I was sufficiently well developed that the tactics ought to work in my favor.
Yeah.
But
So, okay, what does it
Sorry,
think?
what does it want to do? Bishop D8? Is that
It
right?
wants bishop D8.
Is that what's going? Sorry, of course we can't take on D6 because A4 hangs. And of course that allows the knight to come out to E7, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Right. Okay. And the bishop can reappear via C7.
Yeah, it just protects pawn on D6.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Black is making progress here.
Hmm. So still pleasant position for white, but not black has got some chances there.
Still mean the way it gives you all those question marks.
Yeah, it's quite unforgiving, isn't it, the lead chess?
I mean, there's a lot to be said for practical chances. You know, it may be a blunder by the book, but
Yeah,
it's
It
can still be a good move.
It's a sufficiently complex set of lines that maybe it's a reasonable practical try.
Yes, and it's giving this bishop more scope, isn't it? So takes. Oh, but there's this
I
sack.
spent a long time looking at queen takes pawn, and I couldn't work it out.
So queen takes
Bishop
pawn.
A4. Yeah, probably it was winning too.
And I thought that if I was greedy and went for queen takes G7, that didn't work.
Bishop B3.
Exactly. Bishop takes B3.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, it got very messy after that. But I think in the lines I could calculate, black was doing fine.
So if you recaptures bishop F6, do you want to play?
In lots of lines, the lines get very messy, and this was the other reason I abandoned this idea, because I couldn't
Can't calculate
it
it
all.
through. No way. Yeah. Okay, but this computer approves anyway. Rook D7. What are you trying to do with this exchange?
Well, it's just maintaining the positional advantage of having the knight and rook stuck.
Yeah.
Her light squared bishop is one of her better pieces, so trading my rook it isn't a bad trade. It's worth noting that we were both getting a little low on time around here.
Yeah,
so I played some quick moves to gain some time on the clock.
Of course.
I wasn't happy with rook d1 check afterwards. I realized that
So they like
the king
rook
is probably not very happy on d7 and
rook
chasing it
F1
back
just trying to come in here, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking afterwards during the game. The rook
Yeah.
f1 would be better, because this just chases the king back to a safer square.
Okay, king e8. Bishop c4. Rook d8. Rook f1. So this bishop's got more scope than it had before. Still got to get this knight out. Bishop d6, so you're trying to get the knight out, I guess, and defend across that way.
I think just protect e5.
Protect e5. Okay. Blunder. Bishop rook f7. Oh, they want bishop f7.
Oh, looks. Maybe I should have captured right rook f7.
I thought both captures were fine.
I don't quite understand this. Don't both lead to the queen against 2 rooks scenario, which is going to be better for white? Yeah, but
So after bishop, it's saying take it off.
Okay.
So presumably there's an alternative resource after rook.
After rook, yeah.
Oh,
No, it's wanting to just develop the knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wants to play knight e7,
Get
get that knight out finally,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it wants.
Okay. And black is
I wasn't sure after
still in the
bishop
game.
takes. Sorry. I wasn't sure after bishop takes f7 whether black could run with the king via d7.
I just come out here.
That was why I went for rook takes in the end.
Yeah. Oh, look, you got to check across that way.
But then king just keeps running.
C7?
Yeah. I wasn't.
I think you got bishop takes g8 and rook c7. F7.
Yes. That was convincing.
Again, that's not easy to see, just giving up your bishop for that terrible knight.
Yeah.
No, I did look at those ideas, but I didn't combine it with queen h3 check at all.
Oh, okay.
So in the lines, the king got to c8, and c8 is a relatively safe square.
Yeah.
Okay. So rook f7, which looks very similar on the face of it. And okay, so it wants knight e7. We've got rook d7, defending across here. Oops. Queen d. Oh, sorry. c7. It's rook d7 first.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I retreated the rook to f4.
Yes, you did.
Because I definitely do not want to trade here.
Yeah. Rook c7. Well defended though, because this is all dangerous stuff. Queen d3.
This was the first moment I was confident I was winning.
Okay.
Up until this point, I thought it was still very messy.
Yeah.
Because here the bishop on d6 and the pawn on a6 are hanging, and then if the a6 pawn falls, then I have bishop to b5.
So oh, the knight gets out. Oh. But then knight b6. Wow. It's kind of, isn't it? It's that opening that sort of caused problems like right away with it's because that knight got stuck. That got stuck, and then there wasn't really much to be done, was it?
I was looking
tricky
for
though.
ideas: bishop d8, knight e7.
Yeah.
And I should have, gone for it. But during the game, didn't make the right decision.
Well, it's hard during the game to play a move like that because you can still you're moving your bishop backwards to try and create a square for your knight, and it's still
It's very hard to come up with all the moves during the game if you haven't really looked at this line before.
Yeah,
it's not one that's easy to face for the first time, is it?
Yes.
Oh gosh, that was
These
brutal.
These G4 lines, they are very dangerous. Yeah. I used to play. Well, I still play the Sicilian, but I tend to play lines in the Sicilian where G4 is not so much of a worry, basically. It's. I think that's kind of what put me off some of these Scheveningen and Taimanov lines. The fact there's so many more different lines that white can play that are actually very, very annoying. Having said all that, I'm not saying give up this line, but there's clearly a way that black can play after G4. Maybe I don't know what it. I suspect it's probably something to do with knight E7.
Most people go for the knight G7.
So knight E7 first.
Yeah.
A6. And
A6 first.
A6,
right?
yeah.
A6 here. And knight E7.
It feels logical because if you think about the weakness of G4.
But then what do you do with your bishop?
Well, clearly we want to just take on C6 and then reroute the other knight to C6.
This is where we're gonna. So black's
as
gonna
Andrew was saying that white now
Yeah.
actually, white actually avoids the exchange by moving the knight back to.
They will move back, and you don't allow it. But if they leave it there, you take
and then bring the other knight to c6.
and take.
Yeah.
But if they move it out of the way,
then perhaps, I mean, I suspect we've probably got to try and make knight g6 work at some stage, but not necessarily straight away. Yeah.
Oh, it's like computer's telling us b5.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you don't need to rush developing that dark square bishop.
Yeah.
The dark square bishop is a lot happier to sit than the.
Where you could even move the knight to c6 from c6 to e5 or a5, and then the other knight might then go to c6 perhaps.
Okay.
Not straight away, but I mean, it's possible. Black just plays typical sort of Sicilian moves like b5 first and bishop b7 perhaps, and just see what happens.
Try and give these ones grief.
Develop all the queenside pieces before worrying about the bishop on f8.
Yeah.
Cool.
That looks okay for black, doesn't it?
Yeah. You got to hope not to meet all these people that hack with the G pawn. Do you see that? Which everyone does these days. Oh dear.
I think it goes with the territory. I think everyone people are happy. I mean, people see the engines approve of these G4 moves now. So they're much braver about doing it. Whereas in the old days, like people, G4, I'm not quite sure about that. Unless it's specifically against the Scheveningen, everyone knew it was a good move there, basically, because you were attacking the knight with G5. But,
yeah. So Turan, you've played much in England before?
No, it's the first time I'm
First
playing.
time in England?
Yes,
wow.
Playing.
Are you enjoying the tournament?
Yes.
Until this game.
Yeah. No, this game was also fun. Like
it is. Yeah. It's a fun attack. And
it's now I know a little bit what should I do next time if my opponent plays G4.
Yeah. And are you in England for a long time?
Yes, I'm studying here. Like I'm doing my master degree in Coventry.
Oh, what do you study?
I'm doing sport management.
Sport management?
Yes.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Have you got a sport that you particularly like?
Chess.
Oh, you can relate it to chess, can you?
I can if I want to, yeah.
Well, how lovely. So you're studying and you're kind of relating it to chess.
Yeah. Like I'm more interested in like a sport event management of course. Like degree. So we will see. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with that. Very nice. Well, I hope we'll see you in lots more English tournaments as well.
I hope so.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. And Andrew, you played in Cambridge before?
I was a student here, and I live here. So
that's your home, playing on home territory then?
Yeah, I don't play that much chess these days, but when there's a tournament on your doorstep, I had to play.
How lovely. And what was your subject?
I read maths.
Maths. Oh, yeah, me too. Yeah. Oh, very nice. And you did as well, John, don't you? Your maths.
I did. Yeah, I forgot all about it now, of course. But yeah.
Yeah, lots of chess players do maths. Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for talking through your game. And good luck. Good luck in the rest of the event.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Right, John, let's see what's been happening.
Yeah.
On the other board. So,
should we go to board one?
Board one. Let's see. Oh, we have a result.
There's been a lot of action with wow.
Mm-hmm. We've got lots of results actually. Yeah. So let's. What do you want to see?
Let's see it from where we had it.
Can you remember where we got to?
We probably around about. This was Jonah, wasn't it? So probably around about move 20.
Yes, I'm going back a bit more.
It looks like there's definitely it got exciting, didn't it? So this is where we thought that I mean we were a little bit earlier, but basically we thought that Tivi had enough queenside counterplay and this G4 G5 plan never really got going, did it?
Yes. Oh yeah. He couldn't get G4 in.
No, it's just black had too much counterplay down the D file.
Yes.
It's more what we thought would happen. That white would have to be content with, basically. And I kind of said, remember I said that it's probably around about equal, but actually the more you think about it, the more actually black's probably just a little bit more comfortable here.
Yeah.
Because if white doesn't actually get a quick g4 in effect, white's king's always just a little bit less safe than black's king, because it's got fewer defenders.
Yeah, and so Tivi lines up everything.
Yeah, and so
he's
going to
go or on the queen's side.
But of course, I mean, it's still lots of things going on here, actually, aren't there?
Yeah. Okay, and Jonah plays c4, and I guess the idea is to keep the c file like really shut.
Yeah.
And doesn't manage that.
No, the idea is to be able to take on e6 to get past
e6.
Yeah, so it's still very, very complicated, but it looks like Tiviakov managed to keep that under control.
Yes. Queen e2. b3. It doesn't like, and now it's equal.
It likes knight e7, I guess, to block the pawn. But this is very tempting, isn't it, for black to do this? Because now there's
threatening knight c3 check. Jonah defends, of course.
Did it like? Okay, yeah.
Knight c1, a4, queen d3, trying to swap off. Queen b6. Knight a2 blunder.
Doesn't like that move.
What's the story here?
Knight wants to come to c3, but what's the story? Yeah.
What is the story? So,
well, I suppose it's rook b8 to attack the.
So it wants rook b8 to try and take there. And black's got an advantage. Oh, look. So what it wants is if white defends, then to bring in also a3.
a3, yeah.
You can see that's going to cause problems.
And it looks like the white's e pawn isn't providing enough counterplay. Because if e7, then there's always. Actually, e7 here. Just I suppose. What's going on for e7?
Let's do it. e7.
Queen takes b2 check. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then white has to take back with the queen, and then we're going rook takes b2 check, and then king a1, and then are we simply just taking on e7?
Taking on here, and then
taking on g2.
Got more pawns.
And also, white's king is so far away from what's going to eventually happen on the king's side.
Yeah. And this is even a mate threat.
Yeah, so you're going to have to play knight b4, but yeah, it's going to be grim, this position for white, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna just keep moving through. So this one here, Shreyas. Now we thought black was in a bit of trouble, didn't we?
We thought this exchange sacrifice that Shreyas did was
yes. Oh yeah,
we just like white's position. We just didn't think there was quite enough. Maybe he felt like he had to do it. Maybe there was just, we looked at king f8, didn't we, as an alternative, but maybe there was something for white there. I was thinking maybe knight d6 or something. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just a minute. We'll see Mickey. How's Mickey and Francesco? Okay. So this is the position. Mickey has here an extra c pawn.
He's got an extra pawn. Yeah.
Yeah. But the black king's a little bit more in the position, I suppose. So.
I was maybe thinking, yeah.
So knight and pawn endings, they say, are like king and pawn endings.
Mickey would love this to be a king and pawn ending, of course.
He would love to get rid of those knights, wouldn't he?
So they are, but obviously in certain positions, not quite. This being one of them. So I couldn't avoid seeing the engine thinks this is.
Yeah, try to turn it off because it's distracting you.
You can do it, but it's too late for this particular position. It just feels, it just sees as a draw basically with best play. Yeah. So I'm just thinking what black should do, because obviously if you just bring your king to f4, I don't think that's the right way, because white can just advance the king and then go c4. So it looks like black's going to have to try and keep some sort of blockade and actually. And
white's go actually. So
okay, so white can maybe play the move c4, and maybe black just keeps maneuvering the knight around. And the problem for white would much prefer that pawn on c3 to be a file or two further to the left, where it could act as a much better deflector of the black.
Yeah.
It's never going to. I mean, you might be able to push it, and the king goes and takes it, but you're never going to get, you know.
We'll move it this way.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. If the pawn's going to move sideways, then b3 and then a3 would be White's best plan.
Unfortunately.
So that's probably why Black should draw. But of course, I mean, the engine says it's a draw, but that doesn't mean to say it's going to be easy. I've seen Mickey win positions that are much more draws than that.
Yeah. So now Ian Gourlay.
Yeah, this is the game that we looked at, wasn't it? Where Ian Gourlay had really good activity.
Yeah, we're a bit earlier than that. Were we something like this?
Somewhere around here, yeah. And we thought the end game was promising for White, even if objectively Black's okay. The White's pieces were really active.
And it looks like that happened.
That basically happened, yeah. So what actually happened? If we just quickly... Oh, do you want to go to another game?
I can whiz through. Yeah, they're all coming in. And she doesn't like that one.
Right, and then White got a bit decisive advantage here, yeah?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, yeah. The exchange is going to be enough, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, the rooks are there. And so White did the business there. Okay, this one. Oh, now, okay, so this one.
Is this over yet? Or it's going to be over
No,
soon, yeah?
This is still going. So Declan's actually a pawn up, but the White's king's very, very active. And so.
Oh, it's also a rook up, yeah?
Oh, sorry.
It's going to be over in a minute, isn't it? Yeah.
This one's done. So White's won. Yeah. Hi. Sorry, John.
Hi.
I lost the connection a moment. There we are. I'm back. Yes. Okay. So White won that one, and then Matthew Turner. We had this one was where the knight was in all sorts of trouble.
It's a bishop and it's rook and bishop against rook and knight. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was looking very good when we thought that we found a way, didn't we? We did find a way actually. What did he actually do after knight? He played this move knight c2 and rook takes f7 happened, yeah.
Yes.
But now he played a really good move after king g6. We completely overlooked this, or I did anyway. Rook a7, very nice move because we were looking at rook c7, which allows
a7. Ah, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
which means that the knight Black doesn't have time to go knight takes bishop.
So you can't take the bishop.
No,
okay,
that's
clever.
a much
Clever
better
move by Matthew Turner.
We thought after rook c7, Black could take on e3 with some good drawing chances. But rook a7 is just a killer, isn't it? Having said all that, it still thinks that Black's looking according to the engine. It still thinks that Black's actually got some chances in this end.
Okay, by swapping off.
Well, he has to swap off, yeah. And what does it actually give in this position? It wants to go king f5. Okay. Instead of knight b4, king f5 with the idea of being able to go h4.
Right.
And I guess if king f3, then maybe knight e1 check to force the king. Yeah, maybe there's some annoying checks.
Yeah.
And if White can't quite consolidate and allows h4, then that gives White. Then suddenly Black's got very good drawing chances.
Okay.
But after knight b4, that
knight b4,
king f3, and the knight's on the bad route to check the king away, and it's now the king gets forced back, and White should be winning.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, and this bishop check's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, now it's just a good bishop, a bishop versus knight, and White's a pawn ahead.
Yeah, and this knight can't even come back in.
Yeah. Okay.
So, okay, that was that one. Matthew Wadsworth, he won. So we look at this one as well. Yeah, we did.
Oh, this was the one where White had that sort of grip on the position with the queen on d4, and we thought he more or less did what we
he
said.
did this. Yeah. You know, we weren't sure. We got to this position certainly. Okay.
Yeah, well, and we were looking at bishop e6 or rook d8 or bishop h3, but we thought that Matthew's plan was not to take the pawn, but simply put the queen on d4.
Yes.
And then just improve the position with rook c1, etc. Yeah, and that's more or less what he did.
Yes.
And even after the exchange of queens, it's still problematic.
He now recaptures the pawn, but White emerges a pawn up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And he won it. So well done to Matthew Wadsworth. Okay, this one's still going.
Oh, I'm not sure we even looked at this one ever.
No, we haven't looked at this one yet.
Let's just look at it from this position.
Yes.
So Black's just gone king from c8 to b8. That's a good move, obviously. So how does Black make progress here? Maybe is he just going to go rook e7 then rook takes b7?
If you do. Oh, rook. I just rook back and take the pawn.
Yeah, so White will play a move like rook b4.
Yeah.
And then Black will play. Well, actually, does White play? I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Can you just go?
But
if you go rook d6, they just go king back, I suppose.
But then you can actually play e3. So after rook d6, I'll probably play rook back to b2. But then you can play rook d7.
Yeah.
That's annoying for White because now you are threatening rook takes b7, aren't you? So how does White do that? How can White do this? Can White go back a little bit? Go back to the position after king b8.
Yeah.
So is Black just going to go? Isn't Black going to go rook d6 followed by
d6 looks like the threat.
rook d7?
Yeah.
Oh, no, rook d6 can be met by rook d2.
Okay, and then the king takes pawn.
Then king, no.
And then you take this
exactly.
pawn.
Yeah. So okay. So how am I going to? How's this going to happen? Maybe Black's just going to go rook e7 next.
Yeah.
And then White's if Black plays rook e7, Black's threatening rook takes pawn. Yeah. But White can maybe then go, and then basically I'm not quite sure what White does because White will then have to go rook b4, I believe, with the idea of meeting rook takes b7 with rook takes e4. But then Black can play rook d7, threatening d2.
So you'd have to maybe go behind.
But then you go e3 check. So if we just make a move, let's say make a move by White. Let's just play the move g4 by White. Yeah, Black plays rook e7, threatening rook takes b7. White goes rook b4. So to meet rook takes b7 with rook takes e4, then Black plays rook d7. Right. And the point is, if the rook goes back to b2, then we can go rook takes b7 again. Yeah, and you can't have rook takes e4 anymore. So what Black is threatening d2. So what does White do apart from king d2? But king d2 can be met by e3, which is
d2 e3.
It feels winning for Black then.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a very quick look at it, but it feels as though Black can probably just win the pawn on b7.
Yeah.
There might be some.
I'm wondering if this game's. I thought I saw it that White had no time left, but now the times have gone.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
It
looks very hard for White, doesn't it?
Yeah. If you look at the position on king b8. If you put the position on for king b8, then it should show the time. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I wonder if White lost some time. I don't know. Yeah. It looks like I'm just looking over at I'm just going to show you one. The live.
Oh, there's not much going on actually.
Not much left. Not much still going on.
No, but of course this is actually live, as in they're ahead of us, aren't they?
They're 15 minutes ahead of us.
Yeah.
And they've
been playing since 10:30.
They've still got. What I'm thinking is they've still got quite a lot of pieces left on the board. That one. But
they've been playing for over 4 hours now, actually, haven't they?
Yeah.
Right, so there aren't many games. Actually, live, there aren't many games going on.
Not much at all left, yeah.
That game we were looking at there live. Which game? Oh, that game. This game's ending in a draw.
Draw.
Yeah, look. It just.
Oh, but there's more moves. Okay, let's just hit. So, rook b4, rook d6, rook b2, rook d7, draw.
That's a bit odd.
Yeah.
Because black's threatening rook takes d7 here. Rook takes b7.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Can white in this position?
Yeah.
Can white just move the rook to f2?
Can white move the rook to f2?
He's got to move the rook somewhere, so the rook takes b7 doesn't. Oh no, black can just go king takes b7 now.
Yeah. Okay. So now they've got the computer analysis. It looks like
there's still a little bit.
I think that's the last move that got played. King b8. It looks like, and
it thinks black's better.
Yours agreed.
Yeah.
But it thinks black's way better. Well.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a bit of work to do for black because white's got some sort of blockade on those pawns. But as far as I can see, black can keep both pawns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. What else? So Badana drew with IM Bogdan Borsas.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's not many going on. Maybe should we just go? Let's just go back to Mickey Adams.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I think we'll focus on this for a bit, and then maybe finish when this one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So King f7.
So black's just played the move knight f7 from d6.
So knight f7.
Yeah.
Yep. So Mickey's got his knight. This is obviously good for white, but how good is it? I suppose.
Yeah. So
and
he's just played the move c4. The knight on h5 does prevent king to f4.
Yeah.
But the question is, how does white make progress? Because once you go c5, then king d5 can happen.
Yeah.
Can white? That looks quite a good move. The knight's going to go around to e6 or c6. So the point is actually here. Also, the beauty of that move is that if I was thinking about going c5, king d5, c6 to distract the king and then go king e4, but now you can't do that because the knight can take it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was a possible. For example, if he'd have played another move instead of actually going knight d8, that would have been a possibility.
So maybe it's just quite drawish here because there's nothing white can do to progress it.
Yeah. And it's not obvious at all what white does here now, is it? Because if knight g3, then just king f4. He's played king e3, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like he's going to maneuver around for quite a bit more because as long as you keep the pawn on c4, there's no easy way for black to just force a draw as such. He just has to keep moving his pieces. So maybe Mickey's now going to play king. Now going to bring the knight back to g3, and then maybe to f5. So yeah, that's a possibility actually. Right. So knight g. Maybe knight g7 it doesn't matter anyway. Knight g7. Maybe black's going to go knight e7 or knight d4. It's true that knight f5 isn't the end of the world for black, because that can also be met by h5.
Oh right.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm gonna. So. Oh, wait a minute. Loz says Engine thought king b5 instead of king d3 was very strong.
King b5? Sorry, when was that? That was quite a while ago.
Or is that comment ages ago? Yeah, I don't know. It's not for this game. It must be for a different game. Okay.
Oh, I think I know the game actually. I think that's the game that we were thinking about, wasn't it? The game that actually White won the Rook and Bishop versus Rook and Knight game.
Right.
Yeah, when he drew
Matthew Turner.
the
Yeah.
Turner against Steve Dishman game.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
that might have been the one. Anyway.
Yes. Okay. So we think this is drawish then.
Yes, but there's still quite a bit. I mean, it's drawish, but again with Mickey, it's never.
Cat's saying it is this game. Archibald Aubergine says it's this game. Not sure. Sorry,
there was a position. Sorry, yeah. After King takes C4 on about move
52. Thank you,
yeah.
Aubergine.
Yeah,
Archibald. Thank you.
There was a king on C4 at that stage.
Right.
The king was on C4.
Let's do it. So here we go. Here, Engine was liking
King B5.
King B5.
Yeah, and why not?
And then try and get this one through.
Why? Yeah, of course. Yeah. Well, when we looked at it just a minute, like a bit earlier, the king was already on D3, wasn't it? I don't think we realised the king could have gone to B5. But of course, that's a move to consider, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, White couldn't organise that now. Can't get this.
I doubt he can now. I don't think the Black King's going to let him get there because the Black King's on D5. So I wonder why Mickey rejected this.
King F4.
King F4, C4. So Black can't take on F3, but can he go King E3? Or can White maybe just after King E3, can White just go C5?
C5.
I mean,
maybe he can.
Yeah, King takes to C6.
C6, and how quickly can this knight get back? Presumably not.
I don't think it can get back.
So here, even though you got to check.
You've got to check, but the king will just
not
go
enough.
to
you can just go anywhere.
C4. C4 is possible, but only because F5's covered. But yeah, that's good. That just wins.
Had it under control.
Had it under control. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Well,
Mickey missed an opportunity, but then to be fair, his opponent missed an opportunity against him yesterday because Rich Pert had that opportunity against Mickey that was a winning one. But
yeah, and funny enough, that involved a knight. That involved the big knight fork at the end, didn't it, on E8?
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we think this one's probably
it's drawish, but I mean, I still think there's some play left. Has he played C5 or
this is now the line? So it was King E3, Knight C6, Knight G3, Knight A5.
And right. He's gone Knight A5 to basically force C5. That I like that idea.
Knight C6 and Knight E4. This is where they're at.
Okay. Yeah. So the question is, I suppose Black will just maybe make a move like King D5, keep moving the king backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
It's not completely. White should be a draw, but I wonder whether White can maybe give up the C pawn. Maybe after King D5, go Knight F6, King takes, and then Knight G8.
Second, Knight
F6.
King takes,
then Knight G8.
Knight G8.
Or indeed, even King E4 last move. Sorry, Knight F6. King takes, and perhaps even King E4 just to stop. I mean, it's not. This is not completely clear, is it? Although Black has in this position got Knight E7, so I'm not quite sure whether we do Knight G8 or King E4. It's still not 100% draw, is it? This. Yeah. But of course, Black after has he gone King D5?
King D5's on the board. Yes.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Knight F6 is a possibility. I don't really see what else White does actually. I mean, he could play F4, but Black's going to be happy to exchange off another set of pawns. That'll make him closer to a draw, won't it?
Yeah, you can't try and go around this way because they've got a check.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why he put his knight on C6. It's like a nice route for the knight, just attacking the F pawn. So he's forced the pawn up to C5. So now that it's committed now, that pawn. That is right. The Black King's attacking it. So it feels like White probably has to just now give it up and go Knight F6 and then
Knight F6, we think.
Yeah.
takes.
And then either knight g8 or king e4.
Yeah. So say with knight g8.
Yeah, and then black probably just starts bringing the king back. So king d5.
We've got a different move. King d5. We'll just see this one and then
Knight takes and then king e5. Or indeed king e6. King e5. Now let's go king e5. And my feeling is that this should be a draw because
yeah.
The black king's going to be able to get back to a safe position, and then our knight's going to be able to attack their pawn. It should be a draw.
Yeah. So what Mickey did was actually knight d6.
Knight d6.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's...
Well, maybe it's the same idea. He's going that way. And...
Yeah. So okay. So black... I feel like black should play king takes c5. Oh, he's gone knight e5, yeah?
He's gone knight e5.
Why does that...
Oh, so he's stopping that plan.
Yeah, although there's knight f5 as well, but he wants to bring his knight back to f7, doesn't he? Is this a slight... So knight f5, knight f7 is the idea.
Yeah. Okay.
And that just about holds because there's no arc. The trouble is, we'd like to go king e4. We'd like to bring our king to e4 and then go to king f5, but our knight's there.
Yeah. Oh, so if takes...
Yeah, like c6, king takes c6, king e4. But he's just... Our knight blocks our king's path. So black can probably play... It's not completely straightforward even here, though, is it?
Yeah, because if they have to move the king, really. If they move the knight, we're just going to come in.
It's the sort of situation, for example, in this position where black might... Oh, king c5, of course, is a good move. I've forgotten. Just king c5 stops us doing anything.
All right, we have a different move again. We have knight e4 from Mickey. Just defending the pawn.
Just defending the pawn.
So, okay. So, but now black has to move, like, either the knight...
Black can just repeat. He can just go knight back to c6.
Is that the same? Yeah.
That's the position we just had. But he's actually gone knight d7.
Yes. c6, king takes, king d4. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so at least so at least Mickey's got his king in a good position.
Yeah, because if the king moves, Mickey can put his king in, and if the knight moves, he can put his king in.
I'm wondering why he didn't just go knight c6 and repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's going on here? So it's like one of these little funny, it's like a zugzwang. I mean, if
it's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, if it's White's turn here, White would have to actually make a move that would weaken the position by moving the king to c4. But because it's Black's turn...
Black's got to lose control of one of the squares. Yes,
okay. I think what he's going to do, he's going to... I can see what he's going to do. He's going to bring his knight around to h4. That's a clever plan. He's going to go knight g6 check, king f6, knight h4.
But how does that help? Wait a minute. Wait. So knight g6 now, yeah? Oops. Oh,
he's done it.
Happened.
Yeah.
It's already happened, John.
Yeah.
Oh, and this pawn's on.
Yeah, so White has to play the move knight d2 now. That's the only chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So knight d2.
And knight d2 is pretty quick, though, isn't it?
Wow.
So I wonder now if Black... Wow, that's pretty quick. Are they getting short time? Because they're moving quite quickly.
Well, they've both had 1 minute each for a long time.
Right. Yeah. Knight d2 is a good move. Because now there's the threat of just king g7. So
the clock times have vanished, so I don't know.
So king d5, king g7, king d4. King
d5's happened.
Yeah, king g7.
2 minutes each, but they're now building up time.
Mm. So White's got to go king g7. I don't see another move for White.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, I mean h5 looks ridiculous, but I suppose is that a possibility?
We might just go.
King. I know what he can do. He can go king e5. He can go king e5.
Sorry, king e5. Yes, that's
king e5.
Sorry, let me.
Yeah, king e5. He does. Yeah. King h6.
King f4.
Threatening knight takes f3, followed by king takes g4.
Yeah, you don't recapture the knight.
No, so White goes king h5 here.
This has actually happened. This is on the board.
And now Black.
So now just take. Oh no, you.
No, don't
oh,
take. No, you have to move your knight.
No,
Knight
move the
G2.
knight. Knight G2.
G2. Yeah, and I don't
Okay.
think white. Finally, I don't think white can actually make progress unless I'm mistaken. Oh, okay, no, he can. He can go knight E4. Oh no, knight E4. Knight E4.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be played. King takes
King takes here.
and then knight takes G5.
Check.
Check.
King there.
Yeah.
Then
And
move the knight.
Then move the knight, and the game continues.
The game continues, although you.
Well, no, yeah. Wow, the game does continue.
This is where we're at. They've played all this now.
Yeah, there's no immediate. I mean, black can move his king anywhere, threatening knight E3, but white's going to move the knight. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the game continues.
Okay, so king F4.
Probably knight H3.
H3. Check.
Or can he then actually? He can maybe go king. He can maybe go king G3 there.
King G3.
Yeah, so maybe not knight H3. Yeah, that looks.
2.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe the knight has to go elsewhere. Yeah.
Knight E6.
Okay. King E5.
My feeling is this must be a draw, but
yeah, but it's still not.
It's still,
still the game is still continuing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So knight somewhere.
Knight C5. And then something like knight F4 check.
Oh wait, we've got moves.
Yeah.
So they went king F4, and then Mickey went knight F7.
Okay. Yeah, of course. The checking actually you don't want to check. Is knight F7 is the best option because the black knight wants the F4 square anyway.
Right. Yes. Okay.
So checking would actually only lose us time.
So do you think there's serious winning chances here?
I should know these endgames much better than I do. I mean, it feels like it should be a draw, but you feel like if black just gets a knight on F4,
yeah,
then any deflections, the white, any deflections you can do on that knight are going to be too late, or so rather, your pawn's not far enough up the board.
Yeah. So if the king, maybe the black king, say it moves to E4, sorry.
E4, yeah. And if white does play the move G5, and I don't really see,
yeah,
and then I think just knight F4.
Knight F4, and then you can't get past here, really.
No. So king G4 after knight F4.
Knight F4, king G4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, because you have to keep moving.
Yeah, and then knight G6. And somehow white's got to. Yeah, I don't see it. Yeah. I think black's knight's always going to have a square to go to. So white maybe has to go knight. White has to sort of like do knight H6 to F5 to H4, but black knight's just going to move. I think it should just be a draw.
Yeah. King E4 was played.
Mm.
Yeah. That's not true. I'm going to turn the engine on and just check. Do you approve?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a draw.
It's probably been drawn for quite a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that king B5 move was the move much earlier on.
King B5 was the opportunity.
Mm.
Yeah. Draw. Yeah, it's a draw.
Okay.
Brilliant. Okay, I think let's wind up there. Just to say, Sergey, with 2 rounds to go, Tivyakov is, I think, now clear leader. And so we've got just this afternoon's round. And I'll be on just for a little bit this afternoon with Danny Gomali. And then tomorrow morning, the final round with Lan Yao. So, John, thank you ever so much for.
Yeah, it's been great. Some very interesting games, actually.
Yeah, really interesting games today. Thanks, Poker Chess. Thanks, everybody, very much for watching, and I hope to see you a bit later today.